Are you an entrepreneur, creative pro, or in a transition to becoming one? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Create Something Awesome Today podcast, where it's all about educating and motivating you with simple and easy to implement ideas. And of course, helping you create something awesome today. And now your host. He's a YouTuber, public speaker, whose deepest regret was not buying Bitcoin sooner, Roberto Blake.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Create Something Awesome Today podcast. This is your host, Roberto Blake, helping you create something awesome today. Welcome back. If you hear a little bit of noise in the background, it's possible that you're hearing my dog dream and chase things in his sleep. So Tugboat, I hope you're not having a nightmare over there. Anyway, today's episode focuses on a couple of interesting things. It focuses on money and success and traits of successful and unsuccessful people. This is probably going to be one of those podcasts that gets a little bit deep and has a lot of information in it. And a lot of this is probably not going to be for everybody. A lot of this is probably going to feel out of touch for some of you. And that's fine, because what we have to really look at, and I'm just being painfully honest, is that life is pretty unfair sometimes. It just is. That's been my personal experience, 37 years on this earth, that it's like fairness is probably a word that people just made up. Like, I mean, to be very real with you. So what do we do about the fact that there's so much unfairness? Well, in my lifetime, there have been a lot of people who've promised to change things, to make things more fair. I haven't seen it happen. And so while I'm not going to get super into it or get in any way hyper political, I want you to understand that it's going to come down to you for the most part. And this is just my personal anecdotal experience. So you can feel free to literally shut off the program at this point if that doesn't work for you. But what I am going to do is I'm going to talk about 10 specific traits and patterns that I see across people in different types and different verticals of success. 10 things that I know that me and other people that I know have addressed in our own life that we can attribute to our success, things we helped build up on ourselves that were hindering our own success, our self-sabotage. And then there are 10 specific things that I'm going to challenge you all to do that I think will make your life better and improve your situation. And I want to lead up front with some things that I want to just do to start to begin to help you in thinking a little bit differently. Money is a tool, not a goal. I'm not sure if you've heard that before. Money is a tool, not a goal. Most of us have a very unhealthy relationship with money. And so when I was broke, I probably thought money was all powerful. And when I was no longer broke, I realized its limitations. I realized there were things it cannot do for you. Money only solves money problems. And when you don't feel like you have money problems anymore, the voices in your head get a little bit louder. And you start to realize there are so many things that you never addressed because you thought that everything could be addressed with money. You know what they say about how when your only tool is a hammer, every problem becomes a nail? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about here. And as a recent homeowner who's been doing a lot of home improvements, I can tell you that it's like, you know what? Applying a hammer to everything doesn't work out too well for you. You need a different set of tools. You need a full toolbox in life. You need a full toolbox in life. And a lot of people are only trying to solve their problems with money as the singular tool that they can apply to them. And if you look at your life, there are a lot of different things in your life that you've experienced that you might feel that money would address, but it wouldn't complete the job, so to speak. It wouldn't complete the job. It would leave the job undone. It might make it better. It might improve the situation somewhat, but the job would not be finished. And you only think that it's done or that it's the best it could be because you're comparing it to where you were. Not what it really should be, not what a finished project really would look like. And if you look at your life through the lens of a project that has different phases to it, and you look at it and you actually start to design your life, you have a vision for your life, you have a thoughtful plan for your life where you're not just being reactive and you're not just patching holes, it's a completely different thing. It's a radically different thing. I spent a lot of my life being reactive and patching holes. And it wasn't until I started to think about what the larger picture of my life could be, should be, what would make me happy to wake up to every single day. I needed to start acting in a focused and intentional manner. So in this episode of the podcast, I'm going to like really drill down into this idea for you because it's something that I just want to be out there. I want this information and this knowledge to exist in the hopes that it helps somebody, because it took me 37 years to figure a lot of this stuff out. And I need other people to be able to get it a lot sooner than me, or realize that if you're in your 30s and you feel left behind in life, if you're a late bloomer, it's not too late for you. There's still a lot of things for you to do. There's a lot of life to be lived. There's a lot of things you can work on. And so that's really what this episode is going to focus on and is about. Speaking of money, and I'm going to also get to why making money is simple, but creating value is much harder. I want to talk about today's sponsor. Speaking of making money, let's talk about today's sponsor.
We thrive thanks to the support from our sponsors. Here's a word from one of them.
Speaking of money problems, as a content creator, sometimes you have issues where you need to do invoicing. And you know what? You don't want to have to pay for an invoicing software that costs $20, $40 a month. So guess what? You can go ahead and sign up for a free account with our good friends from Creative Juice. Creative Juice has banking tools and financial solutions for content creators, including Juiced Funds, Juice Boost. One of my favorite tools is their free invoicing feature for your brand deals. And you also get a virtual debit card that you can use. And when you sign up for a free Boost account and you use the code Roberto Juice, you're going to be able to actually have at least $10 deposited into your Juice bank account. So make sure you're signing up. Link is in the description down below. Thanks to our friends over at Creative Juice. And remember to use the code Roberto Juice to be able to get your $10 bonus for signing up. And now back to our show. So yeah, let's talk about what you can do when it comes to this concept of making money being simple, but creating value being hard. So we talked about how money is a tool instead of a goal, right? Well, what else I want to add to this, and actually let me just go ahead and do one little update to our description here. Use code Roberto Juice for a Here we go. Now, when it comes to money, money is an exchange of value. Let's think about how you spend your money. And you can tell me in the comments if you're on the replay of the YouTube video or if you're in the live chat. Okay. How do you spend your money? When you spend your money, you're hoping to get something that you personally value in return for your money, right? You're not paying someone for their time. You're not paying someone for their labor. You are paying someone because your hope and your desired outcome is that you're going to have an experience, an item, or a result that you find value in. Is that right? Or am I imagining that? Am I imagining that? Or are you happy to pay for something and not get the thing that you were promised because, well, someone worked really hard or somebody needs to be valued or paid for their time? Is that what your money is doing or supporting? Or is your desire to get what was promised to you or to get something that you wanted or something you valued or what you expect to have? And you can tell me in the replay or in the live chat why you spend money on something, because when I spend money on something, I'm spending money on things, experiences I value or outcomes that I value, things that I want done. So regardless of how hard someone works, regardless of how somebody feels, I want what was promised and I want what I want. And if I'm not getting that, I don't want to spend that money. I'm not going to continue to spend that money. I might even ask for a refund on that money. Isn't that how you spend your money? Isn't that how you respect your money when you work for your money, right? So let's eliminate some of the rhetoric that we're seeing right now in the modern times of, well, everybody needs to be paid for their time. Not if they're not delivering what was promised, not if the agreement isn't honored, right? Not if they're going to take your money and disrespect you. Not if they're going to take your money and not keep their word. Not if they're going to take your money and not do the job the way that need to be done to the satisfaction of keeping you safe or making sure that you have a good experience instead of the fact that you find yourself frustrated or in pain or that you're not safe. Okay. So let's be very clear about that. You have to exchange money for value. So we will only receive money from people if we are giving them the thing that they value and if it is something agreeable to them. If we give people an experience and we do the bare minimum, we might still get paid, but we'll never get their business again. And they'll tell their friends and they'll tell their family, and we will lose the opportunity to ever get money from that group of people again because the value that was exchanged was not enough and was not a desirable outcome and was not a good experience. And this is why customer service matters. This is why integrity matters. This is why taking pride in your work, craftsmanship matters. This is why building things to last matters. This is why paying attention to detail matters. This is why being thoughtful and mindful matters. And this is why being punctual matters and being on time and keeping your word. All of those things are important. You can't just do the bare minimum or just show up and that be enough, because when that happens, we'll move on to where we feel we're being treated better. And by being treated better, that basically comes down to where we feel we're getting more value, or where we feel we're being respected and our dollars are being respected, or where we feel we're being valued as people. So again, when you realize money is a tool, not a goal, and money is an exchange of value, and you think about how you spend your money and how you're using it as a tool and how you're exchanging it for value. When you give it to other people, you are not giving it to them to compensate them for their labor or their time. You are giving it to them in the hopes that they will honor the arrangement and give you tremendous value in exchange for your dollar. And if I'm mistaken, and you're literally just paying people for their time and for their labor, and you don't care about getting a good experience, you don't care about getting value, you don't care if they honor the word, let me know. Let me know if I'm out of touch on that, because I could just be out of touch and I could just be pretentious if I believe that. Because what I believe is that I believe when we give someone money, we're expecting value in return, that we're expecting an equivalent exchange of some kind. That's what I believe. When you're not doing that, I think it's called charity. I think if you're just giving money to give money, I think that's called charity. If you're not expecting anything in return, I think that's called a donation. But usually when we spend money on something, we want value. So we want goods, services, experiences. We want results. And we will pay for those results. Now let's think about something else. So if you decided that money is a tool and not a goal, and we understand that it's an exchange of value, let's look at what lifestyle you're using your money to buy. If money is a tool, let's think of it like this. Most of us are using money as a tool to acquire the experiences, the lifestyle that we want. And that lifestyle is comprised of experiences, it's comprised of material goods, and it's comprised of options that we have. Yes? So we have a lifestyle that we're looking to achieve by using our money. And the lifestyle is the thing that we value, and that's what we're going to exchange the money for. So we have to have that money. We have to earn that money. So if we're going to earn that money in some way, we're going to do it by exchanging value. So if we're intentional and we're thoughtful and we say, well, I want a certain lifestyle, you can literally think about the lifestyle you want, and you could put a price tag on it. You could put a price tag on it. You can look at the home you want, the neighborhood you want to live in. You can think about the foods you want to eat day in and day out, and you can set a budget, and you can determine, and you can throw this into calculators, and you can determine how much the lifestyle that you want is going to cost you. You know, you can look up the cost of what the health insurance plan you want is. You can look up the general cost of what it costs to feed a family of the size that you want. You can look at the cost of the housing and the rentals or the mortgages of the place that you want to live. You can literally, almost to a dollar amount, pinpoint the cost of the lifestyle that you want to have if you actually think intentionally about the life that you want to live, right? Or am I wrong about that? Am I wrong that you can price how much a month a car is, how much a month living in a certain location is, how much a month food is theoretically going to be? You can do estimates to what the cost of repairs, clothes, wardrobe, gas, utilities. You can extrapolate a pretty good deal of how much your lifestyle is going to cost relative to where you want to be, where you want to live, what you want to have, and what you want to experience. But we don't do that intentionally now, do we? Because if we did, we would say, okay, well, that's how much I need to make a year, whether it's $55,000 a year, $75,000 a year. Oh, you know what? The lifestyle I want even includes a retirement. It includes maxing out my Roth IRA. It includes putting some money into savings. It includes this. You can price your lifestyle. So if you think about, okay, the lifestyle and life design that I want is $55,000 a year or $75,000 a year, whatever it is for you and your family. If you thought about that and you thought about that early enough in life, couldn't you also look up, well, what pays for that lifestyle? What career paths pay for that lifestyle? What jobs pay for that lifestyle? Can I pay for that lifestyle with an entry-level job? The answer is usually no. The truth is, if people thought about the life they really want to live, a life that makes them say, you know what, I'm proud of this lifestyle that I have. I'm happy to wake up and enjoy these things every day. I'm happy to live in this area. I want these creature comforts, and this is what makes me feel good. This is what is respectable for me. This is what would be me feeling good about what I've provided for my family. You can know what that looks like in terms of a dollar amount, which means you can also look up what jobs, if you're going to get a job, will or won't pay me that. So whatever life you want to live, you know for a fact whether an entry-level job that is not specialized, is non-skilled labor, is minimum wage, is whatever it is, $5 an hour, $10 an hour, $15 an hour, $20 an hour, whatever it is, you know up front whether or not a certain job or a certain career or a certain job title or a certain vocation, you know whether or not it pays for your lifestyle if you've made a plan for what life you want to live and what lifestyle you want to be able to afford. Now, let me ask the live chat, and let me ask the people watching the replay in the comments here at the 17-minute, 58-second mark. Am I wrong about that? Am I out of touch to think that it is possible for you to think intentionally at some point, here's the life I want to live, here how much money that would cost, here are the jobs that will and will not pay for that? Is that so far-fetched to think that that is a reasonable thing that someone could plan around or could look up in Google and could find it in salary.com, indeed.com, glassdoor.com? That you could literally think, here's my outcome that I want. Here's what does or does not support that. Is that some far-fetched, unreasonable thing? Because the thing is, I can tell you that to me, it was very obvious when I was a 17-year-old kid working at the mall that no entry-level position in the mall that I could work lets me have the lifestyle that I would want to have at 37. Or even 27. I knew that. As a 17-year-old child, when I was working at the mall, I knew that the lifestyle that would be appropriate to me at age 27, 37, 47 could not be achieved with the job that I could get as a 17-year-old with no formal education beyond high school. I knew that. And that was 20 years ago. That was a world with much less advantage that people have today, much less options that people have today, much less in terms of opportunities. I knew that. And that's part of why I went to community college, because that's what I could afford. And I went to learn a profession. I went to learn graphic design and advertising. And you know where I ended up in life. And it's worked out so far. But the thing is, if I wasn't going to do that, I could have gone into a trade. If someone gets a trade, they at least know they'll have a reasonable lifestyle and never starve if you have a trade. If you have a trade, you'll always have a way to earn money because you will always have a desirable skill and the ability to apply that trade, and it will always be in demand. Will always be in demand. We will always need those things. There are, and I'm not saying you will be one, there are a lot of blue collar millionaires out there. There are a lot of blue collar millions out there. There are blue collar millionaires that are plumbers, electricians. There are people that specialize. There are people that are contractors, and they take their extra money. They live very modestly, and they take their extra money and they invest it in things they understand, or they invest it in index funds in the stock market. Now, some of them are experimenting with things like crypto and digital currencies. And because they can invest some extra money, not a ton, they're not sitting there throwing big heaps of money at, but the thing is they can put money somewhere to work for them and not think about it. And it compounds and invests over time. And so when you can do that, the reality is there is a reason why the median age of millionaires is somewhere in the 60s. It's because usually it's compound interest over time, and it's being gainfully employed for usually 20 to 35 years. Typically, people starting in their teenage years, they're gainfully employed for 20 to 35 years and invest even a little bit of their money, max out their Roth IRA. Well, when they max out their Roth IRA, that money is not taxed in their retirement. So there are real practical things. It's nothing far-fetched in terms of, well, can you live a good life? Can you live a good life? And the thing is, if you get a trade, you're going to live a good life. If you specialize, you're going to live a good life. But we already know this. If you don't act intentionally and think about the lifestyle that you want to have, you'll never have that lifestyle. But if you decide on what lifestyle you want, and it doesn't have to be a millionaire lifestyle, if you decide that you want a lifestyle that is can be afforded, a lifestyle that can be afforded with you spending $40,000 a year, then you know that you have to get a $55,000 to $60,000 a year career and salary. You know that. It's not that hard to figure out. It is painfully obvious. And here's the thing we know. We know that you can usually do things like that if you either get a trade, a certificate, or a degree, or if you don't do any of that, you still would have to specialize in a skill that usually pays in a way that results in that yearly income, a skill. Now, what are some skills that pay a lot? Well, let's look at some of the skills that I developed even from the time that I was a teenager. Let's look at some of those. When I was 13, I started learning HTML code, JavaScript, CSS. I started learning web design and coding at 13 years old. I'm not saying I was good enough at it to be paid fabulous sums of money, but this is literally before the year 2000. So I spent years before I ever even graduated high school developing a skill that wouldn't be recognized as truly valuable until like 10 years later. Because when I graduated high school in 2002, web design was not taken seriously as a career or a job or anything with a future, because even in 2005, people thought the internet was going to go away. There are literal articles out there. If you look it up, there are articles out there from 2005 that says the internet will fade and will have no substantial impact on the economy. People said this with their whole chest and were willing to put their name in print to it. And some of those people, for some reason, still have credibility today as journalists or as commentators. It's amazing to me. Like, good for them. Good for them. They still have a career after that. But to be all joking aside, I learned that at a very young age, and it gave me some advantages in life. Not everyone will predict the future, but less than 1% of people in the entire world actually know how to code at all. It is a highly valuable skill no matter what. So that was one skill that I learned that I could definitely say today is still valuable and still can allow you to make very good money. I learned video editing before I left high school, before YouTube ever existed. Again, before I graduated in 2002, I learned video editing. I learned photo manipulation, photo retouching, graphic design. I was doing photography even back then. And so those skills were valuable. I was one of an early adopter to eBay. So I learned the beginnings of e-commerce and how to flip things on the internet. For me, it was Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Magic the Gathering, that type of thing. So flipping and sales. When I was 17, I went to work in retail. So I learned customer service. I learned people skills. I learned how to negotiate. I learned how to sell. So that's very valuable. I had good communication skills, good writing skills. I was able to articulate, speak very well. So even then, those are very powerful skills to have. Copywriting, communication, very good skills. I was tech literate, even early on. I could, take apart a computer, put the components back together. I could assemble a computer. I knew what the components were. I understood how to set up a local area network. I could help someone set up and build their own office. I would do that kind of thing on the weekends. I did it in the local church. Same thing with the photography and videography side of things. You can gain a lot of skills by serving your local community. If you're a person who has a faith, you can, serve your church, your temple, or your mosque, and you can actually probably work in the media services department of your church, your temple, or your mosque, and they will, you can be an apprentice. They can actually teach you a skill, teach you a craft, teach you a trade, and they can probably do it just as well as any college professor, to be honest with you. So you can't say that those opportunities don't exist. They do. There's a lot of these things. So if you become a technical person, you'll be highly valuable, especially to people who are tech illiterate. And there's still many people that are tech illiterate that have disposable income out there. So the thing is, you have to learn to create value for people that have disposable income. You have to learn some level of skill, specialization, or trade. You can only earn in proportion to your capacity to create value for other people. And having a skill, a trade, or knowledge they don't have that would make their life better in some way because of what you can provide is what is going to make it easier for you to earn money. Because now that you can create value, well, that's the hard part. Learning a skill is hard. Once you have a skill, exchanging it with someone else for value is simple and is relatively easy. But the acquisition of a valued skill is the part that is hard, which is why I said making money is simple, creating value is hard. Money is exchanged for value. We established that. We agreed to that. Money is exchanged for value. That's how I spend my money. That's how you spend yours. So creating something that is valuable to another person is what would have to be done. You'd have to do that, and you have to exchange that value. Having tremendous value in the first place to exchange with other people is the difficulty. That is the difficulty. And it comes down to your ability to be focused and disciplined enough to do something that separates you from the majority of people and allows you to have a skill or specialization. And for everyone to claim these absurd things, you know what people say? Roberto, everyone can't be successful. Some people will have to be broke and struggle and be poor. Nonsense. We have enough disposable income to circulate because they're assuming that you have to hold your money forever in order to be fine. And that's not true. You don't need to hold a certain amount of money forever. You are exchanging it for value, and the other people are exchanging for value. It circulates. It circulates. You don't have to produce but so much new blood to stay alive in your body and everything. And I'm not somebody who has a advanced medical background or anything, but think about it. You do produce, new blood, but most of what's keeping you alive right now, most of what's keeping you alive is like it's blood flow circulating through your body. It's not this new supply, it's circulating through your body. And so when you think about it like that, we have a money supply that circulates. Money doesn't just sit there pooling and stagnating if value is being created. Do you know what's the easiest way for you to extract or redistribute value from a rich person to yourself? Remember what I talked about in a previous episode? We talked about a previous episode, build a $1,000 ecosystem and build a $10,000 reputation. Well, think about it. If I want to buy something from you right now, If I wanted to buy something from you right now, do you have anything to sell me for $100? Yes or no? And the thing is, if you don't even have a product, I might want to support you, but I'll say, hey, I want to support you. I'll buy something, but I'm not going to give you money for nothing. I will buy something. Well, if you don't have something to sell me, the opportunity is missed. The opportunity was there, but you didn't realize it. You didn't have anything to sell me. Or if I say, hey, I have a budget. I need freelancers. I need something done in my business. Well, what can you do? Well, if you don't have skills, if you don't have specialization, if you don't have something that's useful to me, then that's a missed opportunity. And the thing is, if I have a need for your skills and you do a good job, I could be referring you to other people. And then all of a sudden, you have a pipeline of people that want to pay you the same way they paid me. And the thing is, when someone spends money, a lot of times they don't like to look cheap to their friends. Somebody who has disposable income, they don't want to look cheap to their friends. So they're not going around saying, hey, I got this thing for free or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. Go to so-and-so. They'll give it to you for free. No. We play too many status games in America, too many status games in the West for someone to go around bragging that they got somebody to do something for them for free. A lot of times people will say, hey, I went and I got something, but it's like, you know what? It's going to cost you money because I got the best. People definitely, absolutely brag about the best, or they brag about how much money they spent on something. So there's this scarcity mindset out there that people, if you do something for someone, that they're going to brag about, they got it from you for cheap or they got it for free or whatever. No, most people, what they do is they brag about how much they could afford to spend on something. And I'm not saying that for you to inflate your prices or anything. I'm saying that for you to understand that you may have been misled about the psychology of money at some fundamental level. The other thing is you have to look at how much money can someone spend with me and how do I justify the value to them? In brand deals, the way that works, if you're an influencer and you're doing brand deals, the way that you do it a lot of times is influencers could be making more money if they just decided how much money they want to make and then looked at, well, how much value do I deliver? How many deliverables what do you get for $10,000? If an influencer wants to make $10,000, they just have to say that their price is $10,000 and then tell someone what they're going to get for that. And the answer is yes or no. And then the answer is to pitch and to build your relationships until you get a yes, or until you're at the negotiating table and you might say 10, but they'll say, hey, I like what that bundle is. Can we do it for 8? Or, well, what if I do 5 videos with you? Can we bring it down to 7 per video instead of 10 per video, but I'll go on bulk? And can you negotiate that? Or can you offer that? Do you have the forethought for that? Just like we talked about earlier, you can price your lifestyle. You can say, here's the life I want to live. I calculated the cost. Living that life is $38,000 a year. So I guess I have to go out and get a job where I make $50,000 a year. What does that career look like? Okay, so that's what I have to do for somebody, and they'll pay me a $50,000 a year salary with healthcare benefits and a matching 401k. It is not hard to look up what a job or a career or a profession or a trade pays, and then sit there and say, here's the lifestyle I want, here's the benefits I want, here's who's offering that. I guess I will go out, meet the requirements, and make myself useful. It is literally a matter of understanding the assignment. As you know, I understood the assignment. Yeah, you just have to literally understand the assignment. What do you want? What's the outcome? What do you want? What's the lifestyle you want? What's the price tag of that lifestyle? Who is paying for that? What do they require? What do they want in exchange? What is the expectation? And that's it. And if you know that, it's just like with YouTube. I'll give you a primary example with YouTube. With YouTube, they tell you flat out, 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 hours of watch time. You know, to make money off of YouTube ad revenue, that there is a specific goalpost and requirement. That is your job application for being a professional YouTuber. The first prerequisite of your job application for being a professional YouTuber is, in order to be paid and not just basically be a YouTube intern, it's 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. That's your qualifying test to graduate from intern to earner when it comes to YouTube. Okay? Until then, you're a student. You're an intern. You're working for experience and exposure at that point. You're a YouTube intern until you get 1,000 subs and 4,000 hours of watch time. You got to work your way up from the mailroom, basically. They tell you what the assignment is. Then, once you start getting paid from YouTube, you know, hey, for every 1,000 subscribers, I'm probably going to make this amount of money. Sorry, not subscribers. For every 1,000 views on YouTube, I'm going to get this amount of money. For every 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to get this amount of money. So you basically know what the formula is for, well, how much do I want my YouTube paycheck to be? How much do I want to earn on YouTube? Oh, I guess I have to get this many views to make this much money. So on my main YouTube channel, I know that, hey, my YouTube CPM is really high. It's very high. So I know my RPM is like $10 to $15. I know that basically I get $1 for every 1,000 views on YouTube. I know that if I want $1,000, I got to get 100,000 views. So I know that, okay, if I want to make $3,000 in a month in ad revenue, if I wanted to make $3,000 a month in ad revenue for my channel, I know that I have to get to like about 100,000. Sorry, not 100,000. I have to get to like $350,000 or so to be able to make that 3,000 views. I know exactly what my assignment is for the exact amount of money I want to make when it comes to how many views on YouTube. That is the formula. That is what being a full-time career YouTuber is. I know that. I know that if I want to make a certain amount of money, I know how much I charge for brand deals. I know how many sponsors I have to have in a month to make a certain amount of money. I know how many affiliate signups I have to get to make a certain amount of money. I know how many t-shirts I have to sell to make a certain amount of money. I know how many YouTube starter kits, how many brand deal starter kits, how many coaching calls. I know how much of everything I have to deliver on to make a certain amount of money as an entrepreneur on the internet, on YouTube, on social media. I know my rates. I know my numbers. I know my assignment. I know my targets. I know that cold. I know. I don't have to guess. The same thing is true if you know how much a job or a career pays. You know what that is. You can run the calculations and you know how, and you can calculate exactly how much lifestyle you want and what that costs. And if those things are not compatible, then the thing that has to change is you. It is much easier in a 3 to 5 year window for you to get a new skill, learn a new trade, and go to a new job, a new career, a new company, and earn another $5,000 to $10,000 a year than to get a raise. It is much easier to make more money by changing your career, changing your job, changing your specialization, learning a new skill or learning a new trade than it is to get a raise, get a pay bump. It is much easier than that. It's much easier to do that. It's much easier than trying to organize a union. I mean, no offense to anybody. What do you think is easier to do? What do you think is easier to do? Is it easier to pick up another side hustle and immediately make your family's life better? Immediately by just earning more money and giving up Halo, giving up Call of Duty. That's what I did, by the way. I'm not speaking out of turn. I did this. And I did it years ago when it was harder, when there was less opportunity, and when there was less respect for doing it. And I did it, by the way, I was almost 30. I was almost 30 when I did it. I didn't do it with any privilege. I'm a Black Latino man, child of divorce, ADHD, oldest of 4 children, raised in a single parent home by a single mom. I am almost every cliche of you do not have a future, you will not be successful in America. So if I can do it, you'd have to have massive disadvantages in order to not do that, because I'm not using the things that make me exceptional, and I'm teaching you the simplest version of this. So you could immediately improve your situation. Instead of getting $2 or $3 more an hour, you can immediately improve your situation by making more money on the weekends. I'm not saying don't sleep at night. I'm saying on your days off, do other work. You can still sleep 8 hours on Saturday and Sunday. You can still spend 4, 6, or 8 hours with your family on Saturday and Sunday. And then you could still you could sleep 10 hours. You could sleep 12 hours. You can still carve out 4, 6, or 8 hours to do something and make money at it. And the thing is, if it's something you like, then that's really good. And that could be helpful. And that could actually be invigorating. If it's not something you love, at least maybe it's not something you hate, but it pays well enough, that is extra money. It is easier to get extra money and make an extra $500 on the weekend. If you make an extra $500 on the weekend by doing some work, or let's say it's not even that. Let's say it's an extra $500 a month by giving up every weekend. Well, $500 extra a month is another 5 or 6 grand for the year. You're not going to get a raise in most situations at a job that's non-specialized, non-skilled labor, or didn't require a degree or a certification to do. You're not going to get a $5,000 or $6,000 or even a $2,000 a year increase usually from that. But you can by just picking up a side hustle. And then you can take that extra money and immediately improve your family's life. And there's not a guarantee that any of your efforts to try to say, oh, well, let's get the workers together, let's do something. I mean, no offense to people for doing that. I'm being practical. I'm saying, what if that doesn't work out? You spent time and energy and effort for something that wasn't going to work out. Okay, the thing I'm talking about, literally taking up extra work, that does work out. You know it does. You know it's going to work out. You know that that's not a waste of effort. You know that that's not a fluke or that that's luck. You know that if you just go out and you just get some extra side hustle income from freelancing, doing some, I'm not talking about going and getting extra shifts somewhere. I'm not talking about taking on a second job. I'm talking about a side hustle, something that is literally make it, take it, or leave it. Uber, DoorDash, freelancing, YouTube, streaming, something that you can make a few extra bucks at. A few extra bucks. And so that could be huge for you because it's meaningful and is more impactful because there's a very little chance. And I speak from experience. I speak from experience on this. You can get a pay bump, you can get a raise. It's not going to be nearly as much as you would get compared to if you build a second stream of income. And by doing that, you're decreasing the leverage your employer has in the first place. And you're getting a little bit more leverage. You're getting more options. And it means your income wouldn't be down to zero in the worst case. And so that gig work also means that there's a buffer where, okay, you could save up some extra money, then slow down on the gig work. You have some extra money. You can invest in getting more skills, and then you could leave this job to a better paying, higher salary job that might be less stressful and might be more enjoyable and might be less toxic and might have better benefits. And so then you're in a better position, but it's not a 1-year change. It's not an overnight thing. It could be 2, 3, or 5 years, but the time will pass anyway. The time will pass anyway. How much of a raise and a salary bump do you really think an employee gets over a 3 to 5 year lifespan? It's nothing compared to the increase you could get through a side hustle in that same lifespan. It's not even close. And I speak from literally doing this. This is lived experience here. Because I remember by side hustling, I was able to make an extra $5,000 or $10,000 a year. By side hustling, I could make an extra $5,000 or $10,000 a year. And it put me in a position to where eventually I was in a position to just go into it full time and leave and then make more money year after year after year because I could know my targets. I could control that income. But I know that's really difficult and challenging for a lot of people. So the best case scenario for a lot of people is to start to try to get a career that pays for their lifestyle as early on as they possibly can to avoid having to struggle because your lifestyle needs don't match your income. That's why specializing, getting a trade, getting a career, and knowing how much it pays up front and doing the math and just saying, here's the lifestyle I want or need, here are my needs, here's what the job pays, and planning that in advance. Usually having a bad situation is a matter of poor planning. Even my own situation in the past, a lot of it just came down to my own poor planning or my lack of forethought, my lack of vision. And that's why I'm teaching this now is because why should somebody in their 20s go through this when I went through it for them already? Yeah. Why do that already? So, Melly says that, she's a single mom and that it was really tough, but she made changes in her life. And she's like, her side hustle started making more money than her full-time job. And again, for a lot of people, it starts that way. Okay, well, what about people it doesn't work out for? Roberto? It actually works out for more people than not, staggeringly more and more lately. All the failures and stuff like that, that's really data from in the past versus data in aggregate now. We're seeing tremendous changes and tremendous gains. Look at what's happening with the Great Resignation right now. A lot of people are succeeding and thriving and crushing it. Why do you think more people are leaving their jobs? It's because there are better options now. In the past, you had to maybe be a little bit more special. That was my experience. But today, there are people who can do better than me starting out where I was years and years and years ago. It's like where I was a decade ago. It's much easier now. There's much more opportunities and it's more acceptable and respected. When I left the workforce, there wasn't a bunch of people cheerleading and saying, let's go, yay. There was none of that. It was, are you sure? Or it's like, oh man, you're just going to end up struggling. Or it was all these things. It was all the negativity in the world 10 years ago. When I did my Great Resignation, it was like, there was no applause. There was no movement. There was no support. There was no, yeah, let's go and screw the man. There was none of that. It was, man, you need to get a job. You need to do this. You need to no, man, are you sure? Most entrepreneurs fail. Are you sure? Man, oh man, it's hard out there for a Black man in America. It was all this stuff. And now I'm making 10 times what I made at the job. I'm not saying that's the outcome for everybody. Not everyone's going to make 10 times. I certainly didn't. Not the first year. Damn sure didn't make it the first year. First year, I made maybe 20% less. The next year, I made about the same amount, but I had higher expenses. Then I finally got to a good position, I think, at year 3 or 4. Maybe by year 6 was the first time that I made like maybe it was year 4. Actually, it might have been year 4 or 5. Year 4 or 5 is when I made my first 6-figure year, even though you have expenses and you have taxes. So don't get too excited. And then it went on from there. And then I made 6 figures consecutively after that. And I realized it was down to the fact that without my employer restricting me, because here's the thing. With my employer, they had a set cap for my salary. They had a salary cap. And the other thing is, well, I was creating maybe 50 times, maybe even 100 times the value that I was getting paid for the company. I was making the company maybe 50, 100 times what they were paying me, which means that my value was significantly higher than what I was getting paid. So if I just cut the middleman out of the equation, well, how much money could I make then? And then that's where I went with it. I went with, what if I just take on all the responsibility? What if I take on all the risk? What if I provide my own resources? What if I just take my skills and I cut my employer out of me delivering my skills and deliver value to people? And what if, since I'm at this job and there are like literally dozens, maybe hundreds of customers that are like hundreds of customers, maybe thousands that are benefiting from what I'm doing for the company. If all these customers that we're servicing in a month, in a year, if it's hundreds of customers in a month, it's thousands of customers in a year, if they're all getting value from the work I do at the company, well, what if I had a couple dozen customers? What if I had a couple hundred customers? What if I had 1,000 customers? How much money could I make if I had 1,000 customers? Light bulb. Light bulb. Here's the value of my skills. Here's the amount of people that I could serve. That's how much money I can make. Mind blown. Light bulb. Because the company has me sitting here doing stuff that's valuable to hundreds of people in a month, thousands of people in a year. Well, if that's the case, then that means I'm creating much more value than what my salary is. So once you do the math and once you understand that, once you understand the assignment, you start saying something to yourself like, what if I save up all my extra money and every tool, every piece of software, every piece of hardware that's at my workstation, at my desk right now, what if I have that same thing or better at the house for myself that I buy out of my own pocket with this extra money instead of buying that new Xbox or buying those new Jordans or going to the movies or going to the bar, going to the club? What if I start investing that money in my ability to do the same job that's paying me, whether they give me the resources or not? What if I have my own resources? What if I literally have the same resources that the job has and provides? What if I do that? So all of a sudden, I've got, this laptop, I've got, some software, I've got my camera, I've got my stuff. I've got the resources. Okay, well, what if I learn how the business operates? Oh, wait, I know how business operates because I freelance. Aha. Oh, I know how to get customers because I freelance. I side hustle on my nights and weekends. I go out and I do wedding photography. I go out and do video. Oh, wait, I know how to get customers. I know how to invoice. I know how to charge people things. So wait a minute, I do know how to run a business. I do know how to get customers. I do know how to exchange value for money on my own without an employer. Aha. So what do I do now? Oh, I go and I buy a book, How to Start Your Own Business. Oh, I'm incorporated now, just like a company. Oh, I have an LLC now. Oh, I have a business bank account. Oh, I have a business. I have a skill. I have customers. I have the legal paperwork. Oh, I have a business providing a service. Now later I would go and, oh, I have a product, and so on and so forth. But when I learned that I could have a client services business around my own skills and not just a side hustle, not just freelance, I'm like, oh, I can just have customers. I could have retainer contracts. Oh, the company has people that pay every month. Well, what if I had people paying me every month? Oh, I could have an individual client that pays me the same money that my employer pays every month, one client. Well, wait a minute. This isn't taking me 40 hours a week to do what this one client wants for the same amount of money. Wait a minute. This client will pay me $2,000 a month to do this long list of things. But wait a minute. The company was having me do this stuff for like 10 or 20 people throughout the month. And I'm getting, and they were paying me this amount of money. Wait a minute. One person will pay me this amount of money to do it for them. I can work less. I can have 5 clients instead of the company running me ragged to service 20 people, 30 people. The company's running me ragged. I'm servicing 20, 30 people. I'm taking all these phone calls. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm getting this one paycheck. Wait a minute. There are clients who will ask me to do less and pay me the same amount, and they'll ask me to do less. Or they'll ask me to do less and they'll pay me more. And I can have 3 clients and still not work 40 hours a week? Wait a minute. What the hell? What was I thinking? And so when I learned that, when I understood the assignment, when I had my own means of production, when I literally got the same tools, like everyone talks about in all these, I'm not trying to get too political here, but these damn socialists, they talk about the means of production. The means of production is like what? Manufacturing, the thing that don't exist in the US no more? Like you even know how to run the manufacturing equipment? You even know how to do that, guy? It's like, no, the means of production in America today in the 21st century economy is called a damn laptop, and it's called open source software, the end. It's called a damn laptop, a smartphone, a camera, a microphone, decent lighting, and open source software. It's called a $2,000 a month. It's not $2,000 a month. It's called a $2,000 investment in yourself to go out and buy a Samsung Galaxy Book Pro. Maybe you get $500-$600 worth of Elgato stuff because you get a $130 mic, $200 ring light, $260 webcam that looks like a DSLR, and then all of a sudden you literally have the best thing to do, the Zoom conferencing. You have all of that. It's like $600. You've got, so for $600, you literally have a broadcast studio for $600. You've got a laptop for like $1,000. That's a professional laptop. You can literally put all of this stuff in your backpack, travel around the world, live in the cheapest places on earth, do remote work, and you can make it work. And I see people doing it every day. So like, it's not some unreasonable, unpractical thing that I'm talking about here. Not even remotely close. There's free open source software. There's free training. There's free tutorials. Skillshare is cheap or free to learn a new skill within 90 days to a level of execution to where you're better at it than 80% of the people on earth that will pay for it. So nothing I said here is impractical, and there are quite literally teenagers that are doing it. There are teenagers. There are people between the ages of 17 and 19. They're making $30,000, $40,000 a year, and they're not geniuses or wizards. They're not. And they're not all influencers either. I'm talking about freelancers. I'm talking about editors. I'm talking about the people who edit podcast, the people who edit YouTube videos, the people who do client services. There are whiz kids that I knew even back in the day that were working for ad agencies at that age off of pure ability, and they all learned it for free on the internet right now. There's a free education out there on the internet. There's clients out there on the internet. There are people right now that I am paying hundreds of thousands of dollars as freelancers to do work for me. There are people that I'm paying on a recurring basis as contractors to do work for me, and they don't have to even work 40 hours. And they're making more than I made when I was working at a company sometimes, because they have 3 clients like me and they don't even have to work 40 hours a week. Some of them want to. Some of them are making 6 figures because they're working 50 or 60 hours a week for 8 clients and they want to. And for them, they'd rather do that like 4 days a week and then have 3 days off. Some of them want to do that. Some of them want to work for 12 hours for 4 days and make a crap ton of money and then have 3 days to do what they want, and they work from home. And since they work from home for those 12 hours, they have the work-life balance they want with their family. Some of them don't have family. Some of them are young, so they're single, so there's no downside. There's no downside when you're single and you don't have kids if you want to do that and get ahead. And then when you want to have a family, you have stability, you have money, you have resources for it. So it makes sense to do these things. I'm not speaking out of turn. And I'm someone who literally did come from nothing. Like one day, maybe like 10 years from now, I'm going to do something interesting. 10 years from now, I'm going to probably literally dump the like spreadsheet where it's just screenshot where you don't necessarily see any of my like personal information, like my social security number. I think in 10 years, I'm going to publicly dump what Social Security says my taxable income was for my lifetime. And like, so I'll do that at like 47. So I can literally show you the amount of money I earned from age 17, as far as the government's concerned, of what was taxable income. I'm going to show you what my taxable income from the government was from age 17 to age 47 one day. So in 10 years, I'm probably going to do that. And you're going to literally see how poor I was. Because I know everyone likes to say everybody's a fake guru. I know everybody likes to say, hey, everyone has this stupid stob story, made up story. It's like, no. And it shouldn't be that hard for someone to look at me and look at my background and say, yeah, no, he probably did come from nothing. He probably did have it hard. He probably did struggle visual. And you see literally how little money I made the first decade of my life. It's really sad. It is really sad. It is depressing as hell how little money I made the first decade of my adult life. It is that bad. When I was a kid, they had this thing in retail called commission against a draw. You know that now today kids don't do that. You know why? Today they passed laws and it's illegal. It's illegal. It's literally illegal to do work for the way that I did it back in the day. And back in my day, I worked for $6 an hour, and that was considered good money back then. Of course, back in my day, gas was also like $1.25 per gallon. So there's like, so, it is what it is. And I don't say that to be condescending or reductive in any way. I'm doing it to give you a framework and a perspective of the fact that the amount of opportunity today is unparalleled. We live in the most privileged age any human being has ever lived in. We live in the most privileged age of opportunity, of decadence, it's an embarrassment of riches at this point in terms of how much opportunity there is. In terms of what the problem is this. Most people are not being educated. And this is where we could improve things with the school system and with the education system. Most people are not educated about money. Most people are not taught trades, skills, new opportunities for the 21st century, or at least a blue-collar skill that would allow them to survive and live a dignified lifestyle. They're not given those tools and resources in terms of the education. Your skills, your ability are the foundation of your earning capacity. So people's earning capacity is cut off at the knees early in life because of their lack of education and their lack of training and their lack of specialization in anything. And then it's capped even further because they're not taught how to think about money, how to manage money, or how money works in any meaningful way. So they're not prepared, and then they're thrown out into the world without any kind of tutorial, to be frank. They're thrown out into the world with no tutorial. And it's a shame. And then you wonder why people are losing the game. People are losing the game because the tutorial sucks. The tutorial that you're given at the beginning stages of your adult life, it sucks. It is a very crappy tutorial. It's my hope that at some point in life that I will have built basically a better tutorial, a better framework for how to build your lifestyle and design your lifestyle, and how to educate and arm yourself with the knowledge you need to win the game of life properly. And in more than the just average situation, like adapted for people who might have some disadvantages. You have to be thoughtful. You have to be incredibly thoughtful. You have to be incredibly mindful. And I think that preparedness is more important than luck. Everyone says that success is luck. No, it's preparation. in the 1990s Spider-Man cartoon, there's an episode toward the end of this series where Peter Parker is talking to his Uncle Ben, and it's a Peter Parker who had went down a dark path. It's a multiverse. So it's a version of Peter Parker that's gone toward a dark path. He's got the Carnage symbiote. He wants to end the multiverse. And so our Peter Parker brings an Uncle Ben to him that didn't die and is trying to basically save his soul. And he reminds him what he said, and one of the things was, it's like good luck or bad luck, Pete, is only the right or wrong combination of preparation, opportunity, and confidence. And I know that you're prepared, son, because I had a hand in that. You're looking at nothing but opportunity. And I always tear up when I tell that story from 1990 Spider-Man, because when I heard that, I teared up even then as a kid. And it still reminds me today that, like, wow, so many children needed to hear those words then. And I think so many adults and children need to hear those words now, that good luck or bad luck is nothing more than the right or wrong combination of confidence, preparation, and opportunity. Now, unfortunately, not everyone has somebody in their life that has had a hand in making sure that they're prepared. And so where does that responsibility lie? And we need to think about that. Where's the responsibility lie in each of us to pass on what we've learned in the hopes of preparing people in the future for the lives that they want to live and to be able to make their own luck? Because right now, there's nothing but tremendous opportunity. Opportunities at scale have been created. There's more opportunity than our parents had, certainly. There's more opportunity than our grandparents had. There's so much more opportunity than any of our ancestors ever had. This is only the golden age. This is the best it's ever been for any human, ever. And so when you think about that, it's massively humbling. And so my thought is there should be more optimism around that, and more people should be talking about that instead of making people feel so angry and so depressed. They should be empowered, they should be encouraged, and they should be prepared. And preparedness is a matter of teaching people the skills that they need to navigate life. You have to teach people skills that they need to navigate their life. And you need to teach people to have a vision for their life. You should be planning your life. You should say, what life do I want to have? What lifestyle do I want to have? How much money is that going to require? Well, what job pays that money? Well, what are the qualifications for that job? Well, now I know my assignment. I know that I have to be someone who can create tremendous value. And what people value, they value these skills. So I have to learn these skills. I have to learn these things. I have to do these things. And then I can do this work and I can deliver value for people, whether it's through entrepreneurship, whether it's through a career or a trade, or having a trade. Just have a trade, if nothing else, for the love of God. If nothing else, teach your children to have a trade to fall back on. People used to do that. People keep saying, oh, we can't all be entrepreneurs. We almost all used to be self-employed in history. And a lot of people like to say, well, no, everybody was a serf. And they always used to use that rhetoric. It's like, no, that is probably pretty much just Europe. That was, oh, you want to say everyone was a serf? No, that was pretty much just Europe. You might want to check yourself there. We all used to contribute to our community. It takes a village. Everyone used to have to provide. Someone had to have a skill or trade. Someone had to be a crofter. Someone had to be a leather worker. Someone had to be a tailor. Someone had to be a blacksmith. Somebody had to be able to learn those things. And we had to make sure that enough people learned those things to be able to keep up the society at that time. You had to have people that were carpenters. You had to have people, that could do these things. So don't sit there and try to tell me that everybody was just a serf. Like, people had trades, and those trades meant that you were self-employed and that you were serving the community. And that meant that you also had apprentices that would take up your trade and that they would be preserved. And those apprentices wouldn't always stay in town if there was an opportunity. They'd go to the next place over and they'd become journeymen. And then when they're in their elder years, their sons and daughters and their apprentices would follow after them because they are masters who pass on the craft. And the thing is, we don't have that experience in life anymore. We don't encourage people that maybe the first 10 or 15 years of your adult life, maybe you're an apprentice, maybe you're learning skills, earning a living, you're learning a vocation, you're learning a trade, you're learning what you want to get out of life. Then maybe in your 30s and 40s, you're spending 10 years as a journeyman. Maybe you're someone that's a manager within an organization or a leader, or maybe you've gone out and you've started something of your own and you're hiring people and providing opportunities. And then maybe in your 10 years later, 15 years later, in your elder years, you're teaching the craft and the profession and you're managing from afar and someone else is in charge and you're the owner. And what you do is you're overseeing things and you're teaching people to be leaders if you're not teaching people how to do the trade in the first place. And so that pathway in life, understanding that maybe what you do in your 20s is that you're, an apprentice. Maybe in your 30s, you're a journeyman, maybe even up into your 40s. And then in your later years, your 40s or 50s, you're a master that passes on the craft or influences the leadership within your trade or your community. And then you're allowed to gracefully retire at that point. But we don't live intentional lives of progressing through stages and seasons of life from apprentice to master because we don't have mastery over ourselves. We don't take our young adulthood to learn who we are and to develop our skills and to learn about the world. In fact, too many people in their 20s think they know everything already and think they know how the world should work. So we don't do that anymore. And then they don't take what they do know and what they learn. They don't have the confidence to go out on their own. They don't have the confidence to go out their own and say, well, I'm a journeyman now. I'm competent enough to lead a team of my own within an organization or to start an organization and lead. Okay, so it's a lack of confidence and competency at that point. And again, okay, I'm doing this thing. I'm making a living. I am leading. I have people that are looking up to me. What would mastery look like? What would being someone who can do the best of this work do? What would be somebody who can do work at the highest level do? What would it mean to be in the top 10% of my profession? But again, people are looking for easy answers instead of saying, I want to challenge myself and I want to grow and I want to be the best that my potential allows for. And I want to increase my capacity to create value, even for my own sake of knowing that I can do better. Not just even for the material outcome, but for mastery's sake, for the sake of knowing that you can confidently say, I am one of the best that you will ever see. That means something. It's tremendously meaningful to do that. And so you have to be more thoughtful and more intentional about life. So real quick, I want to go through my notes here. It's getting super late. We're in the midnight run now. I want to tell you the 10 traits that I see as a pattern in people who are successful. This is what I see among my peers that are successful. Okay. They're self-directed. They don't need to be told to do something. They go out and do it. In this case, people would have to be told, apparently, to go out and say, design your lifestyle. This is what I want to do. This is the life I want to live, right? So again, if you have to be told, you're not a self-directed person. People who have to be told what to do, right? So self-directed people, they don't have to be told what they want to do. They're ambitious, they're initiative, they're self-starters. They'll say, you know what, that should be done. I should be doing that. I'm gonna go do it. It's like, oh, well, who told you to do that? Oh, I wanted to. Oh, I want to be a YouTuber. Oh, I want to be a photographer. Oh, I want to be like, you're self-directed. You're like, I know what I want to do and I'm about to go do it. I'm about doing it. Okay. High levels of discipline. They're disciplined people. They don't always have to feel motivated to do something. They know it's like, I'm going to stick to my routine. Primary example, we're in like day 9 or 10 out of 10 of me doing the podcast. You know how much discipline it takes to show up and do something every day? You think that I felt like I don't always feel like it. I'm like, I said, you know what? I'm just going to see how disciplined I can be and stick to doing this. And it's like, it's not always, I end up feeling really good about it, but it's not necessarily that I'm motivated and pumped at the start. I get pumped, in doing it, the process. So it's commitment to the process. That's what discipline looks like. Okay. They have a baseline of confidence. You'll find that more successful people are confident, and they're not confident because they're successful. They're successful because they're confident. You'll find the opposite is true with unsuccessful people. Good communication skills. Not every successful person has good communication skills, but the majority of them that I met absolutely do. Competency, being able to do something well, being able to pay attention to detail, being able to follow through. Those things matter. They always have. Okay. So that's important. Specialization. I'm not saying you have to niche down to the narrowest thing possible, but I do think you have to have some specialization of some kind. You need to learn a software, you need to learn a trade, or you need to have a profession. You need something that is very difficult to replace. You need something that is specialized, and the levels of difficulty, the barriers to entry, however competitive it is, that means it'll probably pay more. And it also means you probably have more job stability, more security, or you'll be able to be competitive in that niche for a long time. The less people can do that. And the thing is, specialization and versatility can go hand in hand. You know, you don't have to be a master of one. It's possible, yeah, you could be a jack of all trades as long as you go deep enough on things that are related to each other. YouTubers are like that, for example. YouTubers have a lot of a variety of skills, but they are specialized in a certain lane. Okay. Consistency matters. Look at this. Like, the podcast is crushing it because I'm being consistent. Consistency is what built my YouTube channel the first go around. On my main channel with 500,000 subscribers, it was consistency. It's 1,500 videos I did. That's consistency. 8 years, that's consistency. That's just doing it over and over and over and over and over again. That's what consistency is. And that's really powerful. If nothing else, consistency and compounding will do it. The ability to focus. The ability to focus goes a long way. It makes up for a lot of things. You know what it's like? The ability to focus makes up for a multitude of sins in your career. I promise. Self-awareness. Self-awareness will give you a much better life than a lack of it. By far. By far. So I think that self-awareness is important. Switch Corner says, honestly, I believe the number one trait is grit. A fantastic book called Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance was my direction. It's made for sales, and we are in sales. Okay, that's great. And that makes sense. I could put that down to, we said perseverance. I think some of that comes down to being self-directed, disciplined, and consistent. So I definitely see that. The passion part of it, knowing what you want and being able to commit to it, specializing, absolutely. So yeah, that makes sense. Makes absolute sense. So let's look at some traits that lead to a lack of success. Look at some traits of unsuccessful people, because they're like, a lot of people like say, oh great, we're talking about outliers, we're talking about success, oh, survivorship bias, all the things, right? I know what people say. And that's what people used to say, oh, you're out of touch, or oh, you don't get it. It's like, no, I do get it. And the thing is, I'll tell you something. I'll tell you a secret about successful people who came from nothing or who are broke. See, people who haven't arrived yet or become successful yet, they can only assume or imagine what success is like, which means that their guesses are usually all wrong and they're misinformed. What they know is they know what being broke is like. What they know is what struggling looks like. They know that like the back of their hand. When it comes to anything outside of that, they're guessing. They don't know anything. Okay. All they know is the hardship. And that's valid. And that's their lived experience. And I'm not taking away from that. And I'm not being condescending, because guess what? I know that too, because I lived that too. But they're like, well, no, you don't understand because you don't live that anymore. It's like, it is very naive to think that someone will ever forget the trauma and the pain of being poor. It is very naive. And only someone who has not gone past that would ever make that assumption or ever say that nonsense. And that's ignorance, because they don't know. Because it's like, oh, have you gone from not being successful and being broke to not being broke and to being successful? No, but you're going to tell people what it feels like, and you're going to tell them how they live, and you're going to tell them what's in their head, and you're going to tell them about their own train and their trauma and their lived experiences, and you don't have anything to compare it to. Oh, really? Because you see, someone who's successful, who came from nothing, can always remember what it's like to be broke. But someone who's broke can only imagine what it's like to be successful. So there's only one person speaking from ignorance in that conversation. Just follow the logic. Lived experience matters. If you haven't lived it, you don't know. But if you lived it, you can remember. You probably will never forget, because there's just some scars, they'll just always be there. You can remember, you can just look at your scars and it's like, yep, I remember how I got that. I remember what that felt like. Oh, still feel it sometimes when it's cold. Yep, you can know that. You can know. Remembering is knowing. But other people, when they look at your circumstances, they can only assume because they haven't lived it. They don't know any better. They don't know any better. But somebody who has transformed, someone who has overcome, they know. So there's like, I know I'm speaking out of turn on this one to some people. I don't believe in survivorship bias. I don't believe in it because what it is it's called experience. People say survivorship bias. Oh, you mean lived experience. You mean someone's lived experience that you now want to invalidate because, again, someone successful who has been broke can remember. They lived it. They know. They have the transformation. Someone who hasn't had the transformation isn't more valid because they can only speak from ignorance and they can only guess or imagine. They can only project. They cannot know because they haven't lived it. Living is knowing. Okay? Anything else is guessing. So when you look at that, that's what logic dictates right then and there. So I say that to say this. Somebody can know and recognize the patterns that created their circumstances, good or bad. And someone who's been through a transformation understands the process, understands the pros, the cons, the trade-offs. They know the path. They know the path. You can walk backwards down a path you've already been through before to your point of origin. If you try to walk into the future without a path, without memory, without knowing, you're blind, you can stumble, you could trip, you could never arrive at your destination. But someone who's been forward to the destination knows the path. They know. They don't have to guess. That's the difference. So when you think about it from that perspective, it's very valuable to listen to people who have already made it and not take that for granted and just use your pain and trauma as a justification to write off what they're saying because they're not on the struggle bus anymore. They're absolutely who you need to pay attention to. You can adapt it and apply it to yourself, grain of salt. It's hard sometimes, though. It's really hard. And I remember this because I can only think back to, again, my youthful arrogance of thinking I knew everything. And so I already know better. I know, yep, you should probably listen to people who have been through it and known and come out the other side. They do have something to offer. And you don't have to like their delivery. You should still listen. You should still learn. Yeah. So here are some of the common traits that do sabotage people and rob them of their own potential and their own success. Here are the things that you might need to work on. A lack of vision. Do you know what you want your life to look like in a reasonable way? And do you understand that? And like I said, a primary example is saying, think about what you want your life to look like. Look up what that cost in terms of lifestyle cost. And then consider the fact that you need a career, a vocation, or a trade that can afford that lifestyle or a little better. And then you need to do what it takes to qualify to get in that position, to get that job, that career, that vocation, that skill, that trade. So you need a vision for your life. Absolutely need a vision for your life. A lack of focus. A lack of focus is going to make it very hard to do the things you need to do to make that vision a reality, to check off those boxes. You're going to have a hard time doing it if you lack focus. Lacking ambition, setting the bar way too low. That's going to make things really hard if you are just not ambitious. You have to be. You have to find something to latch onto in terms of some hunger, some like ambition, some drive, some passion. You need it. A lack of specialization or a lack of skills. You have to be able to create value for other people. And the less difficult it is to create that value, the less specialized it is, the less rare it is, the easier it is for somebody to replace you or compete with you. It's going to be more difficult to earn at higher and higher levels. And that's going to be a problem. It's going to limit your capacity to earn. The more limited your skills are, the more limited your capacity to earn is. The higher your skills and proficiency, the more challenging it is to acquire your abilities. This is why you need ambition. You need ambition because you need to be willing to try to do difficult things, even if they're hard. You have to learn. Do you realize how much more valuable it is for you to be able to speak multiple languages? Do you realize how much more valuable it is if you learn to code? Do you realize how much more valuable it is if you learn 2 or 3 software? And it's not easy. It's not easy, but it's a very simple way to immediately separate yourself from other people. And then, oh, you can do something I can't do, I will pay you for it. If you can do something I can't do, if you can do something most people don't do, if there are only a small percentage of people who do what you do because it's specialized, you're the only people that I know that I can go to. Oh, well, that's worth something versus something that anybody can do, entry level, something that a teenager can do. Well, you're screwed on that. There's not longevity in it. It's not going to get you where you want to be in most cases. So you have to be willing to learn to do something difficult and up your skill level. If you lack specialization and you lack skills, you lack a high earning capacity. And you know this because you know what pays what. We all know what pays what. And we can look at the lifestyle we had a vision for, and we can say, well, this is the job I have. This is the lifestyle I want. Oh, there's a massive gap there. There's a massive gap there. And what's the gap? Your capacity to earn. And where does your capacity to earn come from? Your skills and specialization. There you go. Here's another trait of unsuccessful people. They always have to be told what to do. They always have to be told what to do. Being able to make yourself useful, valuable is much better, and it's easier to do if you can see a problem and solve it. You can see an opportunity and say, oh, there's a hole, I'm going to fill it. There's a gap in the market, I'm going to fill it. Oh, there's something people want and they're not getting it, or they're not getting it as good. I'm going to go do that. I'll give you a primary example, a real practical example. People tell me, Roberto, how do I find clients? How do I find freelancing clients? How do I get my first freelancing clients? I'm going to tell you exactly how you do that, and it follows into these steps. You go out and you look at that skill that you have, that thing that you do. You find somebody who's already paying for it. And see, this is what I mean about people having to be told what to do. I'm having to tell you what to do. You find somebody who is already paying for the skills that you have and is paying for somebody to do it not as good as you could do it. You find someone who is paying for something you can do, and they're paying someone who doesn't do it as well as you're doing it. Or you find somebody that is paying for the skill you do or the skill you want to have. You see what it takes to get paid for that, and you say, okay, that's not my level of ability. I will now raise my level of ability to be competitive with what people will pay for. I will be as good as that thing that people are paying for in that field, or I will be better. I will be as good as that or better. What I do as a graphic designer, I looked at the billboards all around my town. I looked at the magazine covers. I looked at the billboards that they did for major big brands. And what I do, I sat there and I looked up tutorials on the internet. I learned every effect, every skill, every tutorial to recreate that thing exactly the way that somebody else made it, and made a duplicate of it so that I knew the process. Then I was like, okay, now I'm going to learn how to do this. Okay, wow, this is taking me 12 hours. I'm going to take the same process. I'm going to get so good that I can do this in 6 hours. I'm going to get so good I can do this in 3 hours. I'm going to get so good I can do this in 2 hours. And then I became fast. And so now I could duplicate that. You know how people learn video editing? They watch their favorite YouTuber. They watch their favorite YouTuber with millions of views, and they say, can I do that same special effect that they're doing? I learned that special effect. Can I edit this thing? Can I do this? Can I remix a video? Can I do this? Can I learn that skill? Can I learn that special effect? They learn it. Oh, how so fill their stuff? What's their camera angles? What's their lighting? What's their settings? Can I recreate that look? They learn how to do it. Then they learn how to do it fast. Boom. You're now valuable. So you see what the market is paying for. You learn how to do it. You learn how to do that exact process, or a process that produces the same result that people are paying for. Then you learn how to do it really fast. And then, because you can do it really well and you can do it really fast, you don't have to do it for cheap. Remember, you can get it done fast, you can get it done well, or you can get it done cheap, and you have to pick 2 of the 3. See there? If you learn how to do something really well and you learn how to do it really fast, you won't have to do it for cheap. So how do you get clients? You see what somebody else is paying for. You say, oh, that thing you're paying for, I can do it as good or better. And here's my price. And then you've got the business. You've taken business from somebody else because you competed, because you could produce a higher quality of the same thing at an equal or lesser price, or you produced it so good, you were able to do it at a higher price. Because somebody decided they want a higher outcome. And if you don't get that person, go to their competitor. If that person says no, go to their competitor. They say no, go to the next competitor. If you have the talent and nobody's taking you on, consider becoming their competitor. And I just told you basically a direct method to being more successful. You're welcome. So, I mean, so there's that. So yeah, you shouldn't have to be told what to do. Here's another thing. Inconsistent. People are inconsistent. You know how you get good at something? Consistency, repetition. Repetition breeds skill. Repetition and consistency will make you faster. It will make you more confident. It will make you more skillful. You'll be better at catching details and mistakes if you are just massively consistent at things. The skills, the ability, the speed, all that will compound. People who are unsuccessful, they lack confidence. They lack confidence in themselves, so they don't take risks. They don't try new things, and it shows in almost every other aspect of their life, and it hurts a lot. Another trait, people who are unreliable. If you look at people who in your life, you look at people that you know that are unsuccessful, ask yourself, are they somebody that you found to be reliable? If something was very important, are they your first call? Probably not, because they're not reliable. That might be part of why they're not successful. Inflexible. Again, not being able to adapt, not being able to change with the times, not being able to evolve, not being willing to work on themselves. That's a big one. And finally, a lack of self-awareness. People have to know what they're capable of. They have to know their strengths, their weaknesses. They have to be able to understand what energizes them, what motivates them, what demotivates them, what they want, what they respond to, who they get along with, what their boundaries are. A lack of self-awareness will mean that even if you're talented, you have a lot more vulnerabilities to being unsuccessful because you lack self-awareness. And so I give you 10 traits for success. I give you 10 traits for unsuccessful people. Let's look at 10 ways you can improve yourself. Let's look at 10 things you could work on. And then we'll wrap up for this episode of the podcast. And then for the live viewing audience, they'll get to hang out with me for about 5 minutes and do lightning round and ask some questions. And by the way, if you haven't, and you're watching the replay or you're here in the live stream, if you haven't already, smash that like button for me. Just smash that like button and help me out in all the social media algorithms by smashing that like button. If you got any value out of that, that's all I'm asking. Or you can definitely go to Apple and you can leave a 5-star rating and a review for the podcast. If you're enjoying it, you like the value, you want me to keep coming back, you go do those 2 things for me. You can smash the like button here on the YouTube video. You can subscribe with notifications. You can also leave a review over an Apple podcast. So let's go to 10 things that you can do to improve yourself. Let's work on this. So 10 things you can do to improve yourself is you could read every day. Reading every day for 15, 30 minutes, something like that, would be very valuable. Be extremely valuable for you to read every day. You don't have to read business books. You don't have to read nonfiction. Just reading fantasy can open up your imagination. You could read fantasy. You could read biographies. You could read sci-fi. You could read romance. I don't care what you read as long as you're reading every day for at least 30 minutes. It'll definitely help you. Your reading comprehension, your vocabulary, your cognitive ability will all increase just by reading every day. It'll also increase your discipline. Number 2, you could work out regularly, improving your body, improving your mind. If you literally improve your body and you improve your mind in a regular way all the time, then you're going to be healthier mentally and physically. You're going to have more energy, you're going to have more stamina, and you're going to have more confidence by doing that. Eliminate your vices. Look, eliminate vices. I don't think I should have to be explicit in saying eliminate your vices. Okay. Things that aren't good for you. Eliminate distractions. You limit your distractions. Look, you don't need to play 2 hours or 3 hours of Halo after work to blow off steam. You don't. You don't need to watch Netflix for 3 hours. You don't. You don't need it. You don't need to do that. You can do things that are better for you. And the things that are better for you are probably working out, cooking meals, and reading books. Those are better for you. Listening to podcasts like this one. Those things are good for you. So instead of distractions to quote unquote entertain you, entertain yourself the old fashioned way with good habits and good self-improvement. And I'm not saying that there's no value. I'm saying those Netflix things, limit it to like an hour or 2 on the weekend. And then after work, you work 9 to 5. You work 9 to 5. You come home. The thing that you could do that would be beneficial for you to say, okay, I'm relaxing, I'm doing stuff, is like cook meals, spend time with your family, go for a walk, do anything but sit in front of a screen. Monday through Friday, maybe you just don't sit in front of a screen after working for, 10 or 12 hours or 8 hours or whatever. Maybe you just don't sit in front of a screen. Maybe you don't open up TikTok. Maybe you don't even open up YouTube. Maybe you save that for a limited window of time in the weekend. And maybe what you do is you spend time with your family, you go for a walk, you garden, you grow food, you cook food, you read books, you listen to podcasts while you work out, you do something like that. You listen to music to relax. You do so that you could do two things at once. You could listen to books or music or podcasts, so you're still stimulating your brain. And you can do physical activity like a workout. You don't have to do a heavy workout. You can just do something, and it improves your body and your mind. And it also will just make you feel better, and it will give you more stamina, and you will be healthier for doing it. And you'll have a clear mind. You'll have a clear mind if you're not watching television or blue or screens or entertainment. You will have a clearer mind, and that will lead to less overstimulation and less depression, and you will just be so much better for it. You'll just be so much healthier for it. And again, could be spending that time with the people in your life instead of strangers on a screen. And that will be better for you. Okay. Another thing you can do is number 5, try to heal your trauma. If there are things that have hurt you in life, if there's trauma you've had in life, if you can't afford therapy, you still need to find a way to heal your trauma. Some people will do that through meditation. Some people will do that through support groups. Some people will do that with therapy if they can afford it. Some people will find some meaningful outlet, martial arts, boxing, a hobby of some kind, a craft. You have to find some way to heal your trauma and to address the things in your past so you can move on. Depression is largely tied to trauma in our past. Anxiety is tied to fear in our future. Fear for our future. So when we work on ourselves, we make ourselves healthy, we're reading books, we're thinking about possibilities, we become much less fearful about our future because our imagination is more optimized toward positivity. We have goals, we have a vision for our life. When you have a vision for your life, when you're working toward it, when you're seeing results, when you're making progress, when you're working out every day and you see yourself getting healthier, when you're reading every day and you're starting to feel smarter and you have an imagination and you're invigorated, you will find you are less anxious, when you're not overstimulating yourself, when you're not reading the bad news, when you're not doom scrolling. Less anxiety and fear of the future. So when you're eating healthier, when you're watching less media, when you are reading and listening to books and you're having deeper thoughts, when you're meditating, when you're doing quiet time, when you're listening to music, these things will help reduce your anxiety because you are less fearful about your future. And then as far as healing your trauma, it means you are distancing yourself from the pain of your past. And the cure to the pain of the past and the fear of the future is living in the present and having better experiences every single day in the present. And that's why this is so powerful for you to build these different habits. And the thing is, the distance between the person you were that was hurt in the past and the person you're becoming every day, that is helping heal your trauma because you will become unrecognizable between the person you used to be and the person that you are today. So the present is the cure to the pain of your past, and the present is the cure to your fear of the future. And so by being present and being active and mindful and thoughtful and intentional and building good habits and eliminating distractions and eliminating vices, you will deal better with your depression and your anxiety. And I say that from experience, and it is the most practical thing that I ever learned how to do. So you do need to do that. Something that can help with that is number 6, getting organized and having an organized and orderly life, everything in its place, having good habits, make your bed in the morning, make sure that you're doing self-care first thing in the day, having structure. You don't have to organize every minute of your day, but you need to have structure and you need to have a purposeful, orderly life. And it's going to make you feel much better. And you're going to feel much more confidence. Number 7, take on a trade or commit to developing a skill. I already have drilled down into why that's so important multiple times throughout the show, so I think that goes without saying. Number 8, work on small projects. If you're going to have hobbies instead of, watching Netflix, playing video games, whatever. And the thing is, I'm not against video games. I'm not against some entertainments. I'm saying limit those things. Like when we had our parents dictating our life, they told you could watch an hour or 2 of television, and that's the most you could probably watch. or you could play like an hour of video games and that's it. And you had to do all of your homework first and do all of your chores. You had to do all of your homework and all of your chores, and then you could watch television and then you could play video games. And if your parents were like mine, you could not watch television and do your homework. You had to focus. You could not watch television and do your homework. You had to do your homework, and then you could watch television and play video games, and you could only do it for so much time. And you also had to do your chores. Why do we not have that discipline in our adult life? Because our parents aren't there to tell us to do it. We're not being told what to do anymore. See what I mean about discipline? So you have to work on small projects. This can be hobbies. This can be chores. This can be work around your house. This could be cooking. This could be model kits. This could be your YouTube channel. This could be building a business. You need small projects, and they need to be small projects so that you can see wins and so you can put them up on the board. And that'll help build confidence, and that'll help build skill. And then number 10, finally, number 10, eliminate the toxic people from your life. This one is harder. This one is much harder because sometimes those are coworkers, sometimes it's your boss, sometimes it's family. It's not always easy, but if you cannot eliminate them from your life, then put up more boundaries and make it harder for you to spend time with those people, and make it harder for those people to infringe on your time. If that means becoming very efficient at what you do so that your boss has to bother you less for it, or you do less meetings, or you spend less time working on stuff, or you get to leave work early, or you can go do something in a different department from other people because you put yourself in that position, or if you have to get a promotion so that you could leave your crappy department and go work in a different department, or you have to get a different trade so you can leave your crappy job and be around a better class of people, whatever it takes to change the environment, whether or not you can move up the ladder and then you get to make a more positive environment, or whether you got to leave, you got to do something. Even if it takes a while, you have to eliminate the toxic people from your environment. If it's family, you have to get consequences. There has to be consequences and a punishment for crossing you. And it might mean that you have to feel a little bit like you're being a monster to people. I'm sorry, but it might come down to that. People are being toxic and people are not respecting you. You have to give them consequences. You have to make people in your life respect you. And that includes your family. You have to tell them, look, if you're going to be this way, you're not going to be around me. Or if you're going to be this way, I'm going to be this way. So you have to do that. You have to specifically create boundaries and consequences for how people treat you, and then you can make them treat you better. Because the consequence is they won't have access to you and your energy anymore. And it's hard, especially when it's family, but it must be done. It must be done. You know? So, yes. It's hard, but it's necessary for your own development, your own success, your own confidence, your own success. It's essential. You have to do it. Not optional. You have to find a way. You know? So Paul says, I'm leaving my job to get away from toxic relationships. It's not easy decision, but I'll be healthier and happier for it. When I left my 9-to-5 job, one of the first side effects I realized within less than 6 months was I immediately became physically healthier. I'm not even joking. I immediately became physically healthier 6 months after quitting my job. It's amazing. And so, yeah. Remember, I didn't have any kind of tremendous savings. I had 30 days worth of savings. I didn't have any tremendous savings. I didn't have any privilege. I couldn't go rely on my parents. You know? So like, I mean, and again, look at the Great Resignation right now. Look at the Great Resignation right now. You think everybody who's quitting their job has some great safety net to help them? No. They have the confidence, the courage, the discipline, the fortitude to do it. Now, yes, there's some of them that are going to be foolhardy. There's some of them that's going to be foolhardy. But again, you'd be surprised how much confidence and ambition and aggression and grit people have when their back's to the wall. So when their back's toward the wall. So like, yeah. Melly, good for you. You're 3 months in and you feel so much better. Good for you. Good for you. That's great for you. You're going to be glowing and you're going to be so much happier in another 3 months. I swear. So yeah, you got to respect your boundaries. You got to make people respect the consequences of treating you poorly, and you have to protect your energy. You really do. You have to protect your energy, and you have to grow your energy and your capacity to do things. And so this is super super important. Um, but yeah, but those are my main thoughts and my main directives here. And so we came to some really interesting like things. You know, you have to ultimately become a person of value. You become a person of value. And I know everyone says, oh, no, I should be valued just because I exist and so on and so forth. Up to the point of respecting you as a person, yes. But that doesn't entitle you to somebody's money because, again, that needs to be a tool that they use for their benefit and for the benefit of their family. You're not entitled to somebody's money unless you're exchanging value with them. You're not entitled to somebody's money unless they want you to have it, and they usually do if you're exchanging value with them. So it has to be a consequence of that. And so you're not entitled to anybody's or any percentage of somebody's money that you're not creating value for. You're not entitled to the percentage of anyone's money that you are not creating value for. And that's just the truth. And it doesn't matter if they have the money to burn, because it's their decision as to how they want to use that tool, that money as a tool, and whether they want to deploy that tool or not. And that's on them. It's theirs. They have the agency. That's what property is, and that's what property rights are. That's what America is, you know? And so that's, you have to respect that. And you have to respect that boundary of, you don't get to decide how somebody else lives their life, spends their money, and you don't get to really make too much of a judgment or assertion about them for it, because you wouldn't want someone making an assertion about you that's not living your life. You wouldn't want them making an assertion about you that's not living your life. They don't know. So what we have to do is we have to look at, well, what lifestyle do I want? What lifestyle do I want? How much money does that take? Great. What provides that money that's reasonable for me to do? Okay. Do I have the skills and abilities to do that? If not, how does one acquire the skills and abilities to do those things? Okay. What means can I use to achieve those outcomes and get those skills? Got you. And the thing is, you shouldn't have barriers to that right now, unless you have a massive disadvantage, you have a disability of some other situation. If you live in America, Canada, the UK, then you have the blessings of the 21st century. You have the blessings of the internet. Your parents and grandparents, their opportunities were nothing compared to yours. Nothing. So, I mean, I hate to be harsh about that, but it's like, what's your excuse? Because again, I wasn't exactly privileged or lucky 20 years ago. When I was starting out in the world as a young adult, I certainly wasn't 10 years ago, back during the Great Recession. So there wasn't as much opportunity. There wasn't as much technology. There were massive limits on what you could do. And again, I did it as a person of color in this country. All right. So what's stopping you? And the thing is, the truth, unfortunately, I'll talk about this in another episode. I know what is stopping you. It's everybody who convinced you that, well, somebody's got to be broke. Somebody's got to be struggling. Someone's got to be poor. They're not going to let you succeed. They're not going to let you be in their club. They're not going to let you have it. Oh, you'll never have what they have. It was somebody. Do you realize I would love to go slap and go right upside the head of whoever put that in your head, whoever said that to you? I would love to go upside their head, because they robbed you of some of your potential. And see, they're the real thief. They're the real scammer. They're the real charlatan, because how dare they speak that over your life and speak that over your future? How dare they put that in your head? Because they don't know jack. They don't know jack about the world. They don't know jack about what success is if they're telling you that. They didn't do the math. They didn't tell you what to do to achieve the thing that you want. They just told you no. They just told you it couldn't be done. They just told you that where your background disqualifies you. And it's not their place to say that. That's not their place to say. What right do they have to tell you that? Do you realize how many people said those things to me, or said this or that? Do you realize how many people spoke things over my life? I am a really petty person. I've lived my life to embarrass those people and to shame those people, and that's my revenge on everyone who ever looked down on me and my family. My success is my revenge against everybody who ever looked down on me and my family. I literally lived my life with the goal of proving those people wrong because I am that petty of a person. So it's like, you're not going to tell me what I'm not going to have. That's a really good way for me to end up getting it. I will not have you be right. I will literally embarrass you. I will not have you be right. I am that petty of a person. And I think it takes a little bit of that. It doesn't sound humble. It doesn't sound flattering. It's probably one of my worst qualities, and it's given me my best life. One of my worst qualities, and it's given me my best life. I will not let you tell me what I can have. I will, if you tell me I can't sit at the table, I will buy the damn restaurant. You tell me I can't sit at the table, you're gonna deny me a chair, you're gonna pull the chair out from under me. I will literally come back in 20 years and buy the damn restaurant. Because I'm petty. You will not do that to me. You will not tell me what I can and cannot have. I will not let you get away with that. There will be consequences, and if you deny me a seat at the table, I will buy the damn restaurant. I will make it my goal in life. And see, I want that attitude for more of you. I want that attitude for more of you. I want you to be aggressive. I want you to be ambitious. I want you to have that attitude. And a lot of people will say that that's toxic. A lot of people will say that's aggressive. And the thing is, I don't even think it's dog eat dog. I'm only talking about the people who are shaming you. I'm only talking about the people who are looking down on you. I'm only talking about the people who are denying you. The people who want to have your back, the people who want to move together, those are your comrades, those are your friends, those are your collaborators, those are your contemporaries, those are your colleagues. That's why I don't compete against other creators. I collaborate and I help people. I help people in this space because I don't believe that they're my competition. I don't believe they're my competition. In fact, I like investing in other people because I'm like, you know what? If I see how far they can go, that's a good investment. If I put energy and I put time into them, because I'm also a good judge of character sometimes, and I can say, you know what? That person deserves it. That person deserves it. That person needs a little bit of help, and I'm gonna give them a little bit of my energy. And the thing is, when they have more capacity because of that, when they achieve their potential, if I don't get it back, the thing is, I'm okay with it because they're gonna help someone else like me. They're gonna help someone else like me, and that's good enough for me. I am good with that. I'm good with that. But it's also my choice of who gets to get that. It's my choice of who to give my energy to. It's my choice of who to invest my time and my thoughts and my energy into. It's my choice. I have agency over that. It's my choice. And yes, I get to cherry pick. I get to choose who's deserving of that. I get to choose because it's access to me. It's my boundary to set. It's my boundary to set, and it's my energy to give. And that's fair. People don't have to like it. People can say it's not equitable or whatever. It's like, well, then you go do it. You go decide who you want to help. You go decide who's deserving. You go do it. Don't be generous with my time. Don't be generous with my energy. Don't be generous with my money. Don't be generous with my resources. You go do it. You go do it. It is really easy to be generous with somebody else's time. It is really easy to be generous with someone else's energy. It is really easy to be generous with someone else's money. It is really easy to be generous with someone else's resources. What's really hard is for you to take on that responsibility for the change you want to see in the world and to become that change for the people like you or for the people that come after you. That's really hard. That's really hard. And people are allergic to doing things that are really hard. And so it's not surprising to me that success is rare because the qualities one would need in order to achieve it are rare because they come from doing things that are tremendously difficult. And people don't want that. They want to be comfortable. They want to be comfortable. Like, comfort and success typically aren't roommates. Comfort and success typically aren't roommates. Not at the early stages. Not the early stages in life. On a long enough road, they might be able to coexist. But it comes down to, what do you want? What do you want? What does it take? Are you willing to do those things? Are you capable of doing those things? If you're not capable of doing those things now, are you ever capable of doing those things? What would that look like? It's not that complicated. It's not that complicated. No one has to sell you the mysteries of the universe. They're out there. They're out there. They are very observable patterns in natural life. I never bought a $5,000 course, not one that wasn't sold by a college, so you can observe these patterns, or you can listen to free content like this, and it will help give you a framework for a way to better yourself, a way to improve, and a way to live your life. There are fortunate people whose their culture or their background helps with some of the framework and philosophy that would lead them to reasonable outcomes or better outcomes in life or success. Not everyone has that. Some people's parents are able to pass it on to them. Some people have really good teachers. It's unfortunate that not everyone has someone that helps prepare them in life, and then also helps make sure that their confidence is built up and protected. But there's unlimited opportunity. So what we really lack a lot of times is preparation and confidence. And so as much as people clown on motivational speakers might help you gather a few scraps of confidence to actually try and get something meaningful done. And as much as people like to clown on courses or training or help content or tutorials or books or gurus or whatever they want to call them or whatever, the fact is you need skills. You need skills, you need abilities, and whatever you're doing to get them, well, whatever works for you is what works for you, if it works. And it's not like it's the worst thing you can invest in the world, and then in terms of motivational speakers, everyone likes to joke and clown and everything like that. And everyone wants to turn them into memes, and everyone wants to talk all this stuff and everything like that. But it's like, not everybody, it's not a joke for everybody. Some people, it does help them. And so who are you to tell somebody if it helped them, that the thing that helped them, like, who are you to just dunk on it for that? Who are you? Not everybody has, parents that build up their self-esteem and support. So who are you to judge where they're getting it from in that way? If it's not hurting anyone, if it's not hurting them, and are you talking to them, or are you assuming that they're being hurt by this? And then some people say, oh, Roberto, don't take it so seriously. We're just playing around, or we're just goofing on the internet or whatever. It's like, well, there are people that are taking it seriously, and there are people that are affected by it. And when you guys say certain things, it's like, y'all know that. And it's like, it's rough to deal with looking at so much negativity sometimes. I'm not saying we have to be always raw positivity. I'm certainly not. I'm cynical as hell sometimes. But it just really feels disingenuous and outright hypocritical sometimes. Because, for me, what I do is sometimes I'll see people who literally, and I'll use Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V as an example here. I will see people that I know for a fact grinded for like 10 years, didn't take a vacation, became successful in business, became successful in YouTube, became successful in real estate, got like 1 million subscribers, 10 million subscribers, whatever it is. And they literally followed basically the Gary V playbook. And they grinded and they hustled. Maybe they even took it too far. But you know what? They're millionaires. They're successful. Everyone loves them. They have 1 million followers. They have 10 million followers. They have a net worth of between 5, 10, 20 million dollars. But then they're going to sit there and they're going to tell people, they're going to sit there and make jokes about toxic grind set. They're going to sit there. They're going to dunk on Gary V. They're going to say, oh, toxic hustle culture. It's like, what you mean the thing that literally made your life better? The thing that you literally took from you being poor. And I know there's stories in a lot of cases. I'm not going to name anybody, but it's like, I know some of these people. I'm like, you mean the thing that literally made you a real estate millionaire? You mean the thing that literally made you a YouTube millionaire? You mean the thing that literally made you an e-commerce millionaire? The thing that you did, the thing that literally made you a TikTok millionaire? You literally followed the Gary V playbook. You literally are the embodiment of Gary V's hustle. It made your life better. Everyone looks up to you and wants what you have, and you're then going to tell them that Gary V's toxic and that his stuff makes no sense or it's unrealistic, or it's like you literally did it. You literally did it. You literally are the success story. You literally are, he should write about you in the book. You literally are the embodiment of everything that was said here. and you're going to tell everybody that's toxic or that it's unrealistic or that won't work or it doesn't make people successful, or you're going to wax poetically about being lucky. No, that's BS, and you just want to sound humble. A lot of people who say success is luck, it's BS, and they're lying to you because they want to sound humble, or they don't understand their own success and they know that they can't teach people and break it down and not sound less than humble. So it's just easier for them to win their brownie points and say, I was lucky. Because then if you say it's luck, you never have to explain what you did. You never have to tell people about your daily routine. You never have to tell them about your process. You never have to help them. Well, let's not all that will work for you. So let's look at what your circumstances are. Oh, you know what? You should follow so-and-so. So-and-so has your background. So-and-so had your situation. So-and-so probably actually has some better advice. You should go listen to them. No, you won't have to do that if you just say you're lucky. You'll never have to explain anything if you say you're lucky. You'll never have to help somebody get where you are if you just say you're lucky. Is the easiest cop-out to win brownie points and to never look foolish and to never have to actually help anybody, is to say that you're lucky. And that's why I'm so against saying you're lucky. And that's why I say things like luck doesn't exist. Because if I said, oh, I just got lucky, I never have to reveal any of my process to you, any of the breakdown of how I make my videos. I will never have to tell you what camera gear I use. I will never have to tell you the years of preparation. I will never have to tell you what courses I took in college. I will never have to tell you what books I read. I will never have to tell you, here is the hour to effort ratio. Here's the breakdown. Here's the CPM niche in YouTube. Here's the analytics. I will never have to break down in detail for you my YouTube analytics. I will never have to break down to you CPM rates. I will never have to break down to you the calculations for streaming royalties. I will never have to break down to you the process of getting self-published. I will never have to break down the video editing process, B-roll, audio editing. I will never have to give you my settings or presets. I will never have to give you the templates that I made in Photoshop for how to do my thumbnails. I will never have to tell you how to do it for free in Canva. I will never have to tell you the free things you can use when you're broke. I will never have to tell you the thing that you can upgrade to build your entire YouTube studio for $1,000. I will never have to tell you any of the process, any of the cost, any of the time variables, any of the circumstances or conditions. I will never have to explain myself in detail or be accountable or transparent to you if I say the words, I just got lucky. It is the easiest way for me or any successful person to get off the hook from telling you anything that would help you, ever. It is the easiest way to make sure you never become our competition. The easiest way to make sure you never have what we have. Easiest way to make sure you never, ever become our competition. The easiest way to make sure you're never a threat to challenging our success or our hierarchy is to tell you that we got lucky. And it's the easiest way to also have you be very thankful to us for looking the part of being humble. So I just explained the grift to you. I just explained the grift to you. The easiest way for a successful person to trick you is to say, I got lucky. Because then they never, ever have to put you in the same position. And they never have to help you figure out what's best for your circumstances by introducing you to someone who's not them, who would know how to help you. Because if I just say I'm lucky, I never have to say, hey, your circumstances are wildly differently than mine. I don't know that, but I will introduce you to the person who does, or I will refer you to this, or so-and-so is the perfect person to help you. Here is their information, or here's their content, or here's their thing. Or it's like, I will never have to explain myself. I will never have to teach you if I just say I got lucky. Because then it's just out there. It's just go with God. It's the easiest way to never be accountable is to say, it's all luck. It's all chance. Easiest way. Easiest way to cheat you out of success, easiest way to make sure you never compete with me is to say, I got lucky. But if I tell you, here's what I did when I started, then if you're in the same position to use what I did when I got started, or better, you've got a shot at replicating my results. You have a chance. You have an opportunity. If I tell you, if I give you the information, you have the opportunity to do something with it because now you are not ignorant. But if I don't tell you, you can't know. If you don't know better, you have no hope of doing better. How could you? If you don't know, if you're in ignorance, if you're in darkness, if you don't know better, how on earth would you do better? if you don't know better. If you don't see an example of someone like you with your background succeeding in the world, how would you know it's possible? If someone says they got lucky, where's your hope of ever accomplishing the same? What's your process? What's your roadmap? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You can't do anything with, oh, I got lucky. What are you going to do? Nothing. See? And if you do nothing, how do you ever compete? Oh, you don't. Right. You see? You see? And again, I'm not necessarily accusing people of thinking that when they do it. I'm telling you what happens. I don't think most people have the forethought. I don't think it's anything sinister. I don't think they're trying to trick you. I think that most people are too insecure. Or again, a lot of influencers, they want to be liked. They want to be relatable. The most relatable and likable thing you could do is be humble. And the easiest way to say that you're humble is to say, oh, yes, I got lucky. Yes, it requires hard work. You have to show up. You have to do the thing. There's a line. There's a script. I'll show you the script. The script for being likable as an influencer is this. The script for being likable as an influencer is you have to be relatable. So maybe you don't flex too much and show up opulence or wealth. You have to be very kind. You have to smile all the time. You have to be happy. You have to say, I got lucky. I work really hard, but not everyone succeeds. I am so blessed. I'm in a most privileged position. I owe it all to my fans. Those are the words you have to say. And then you're likable and relatable. Those are the words you say. Smile for the camera and you say the words. And that's it. That is. And some people mean it. And some people mean it. But think about it. That is literally, you'll be forgiven anything because you're one of the good ones. You're humble. You don't think you're better than other people. You're really down to earth. Oh, you haven't changed. Oh, you're the best. Oh, you're so grateful for your fans and for your success and for your fame and for your, like, yeah, rinse and repeat. It's the same script. Copy and paste. Copy and paste. And it makes you relatable, likable, humble, easy to defend, and that's it. And it's not true for every niche. It's not true for every influencer, but like you can see it. You can literally see it. There's a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. There's another book called The 11 Laws of Likability. Same script. And then, but here's the thing. What favors is that doing you? What favors is that doing you? So again, preparation and confidence. If someone wanted you to be successful, they would prepare you by arming you with knowledge and saying, here's the truth. Here's what you can expect. Here's how long it took me. Here's why it took me that long. Here are some things that might make it easier. Or, hey, for your circumstances, you might need different advice than what I have to give. Let me put you on to somebody who might give better advice than me, or knows your circumstances, or knows your background, or relates to you differently, or teaches better than I can. Or, hey, I don't know. I don't know how anyone can do it, but I know how I did it. But here are some people I think are smart. You would prepare somebody. You would prepare somebody if you want them to be successful. And then in terms of confidence, you would encourage them. You wouldn't gas them up. You wouldn't give them false hope, but you would give them confidence, and you would ask them, it's like, well, what do you want? Or like, why do you want that? Or that's interesting. Or like, you know what? You did a good job on this. You could improve over here. You want some help? Or let me show you how you could be helped. You give people preparation and you give them confidence if you want them to be successful when opportunity knocks, when opportunity arrives, or if they pursue an opportunity. You have to make them prepared and you have to make them confident. But if you rob people, especially young people, you bully them, you make them insecure, you make them unconfident, you're robbing them of their potential. If you don't educate people, you limit their opportunities, you limit their capacity to do great things. You're robbing them of their potential. You're robbing them of their success. You're robbing them of their riches. Easiest way to rob people of their riches is to make them downtrodden, depressed, make them feel helpless, make them feel insecure, make them feel vulnerable, make them feel victimized. You will rob them of their potential because they will be risk adverse. They will try less things. They will pursue less opportunities. They will not believe in things. They will not be able to perceive opportunities. Even if they're on their doorstep, they will not be able to see them. They will be blind. And then the other way that you ensure people are never successful is you make sure they are as uneducated as possible. Make sure they are as unskilled as possible. You make sure they are as inflexible and not adaptable as possible. You make sure they can't critically think. You make sure that they are unfocused and they are unambitious and that they have no vision for their life, that they set the bar as low as possible. You tell them it's okay to do just I. If you do those things, you will absolutely ensure that the person you do those things to will never, ever be able to challenge you for your throne. Someone you do that to will never be able to challenge you for your throne. They will never really be able to rob you of your riches. They will never be able to compete with you. They will never be a contender. They will never be a threat to you or yours or your lineage ever, as long as you rob them of the ability to have a prepared mind, to have skills, to have confidence, to have ambition, to have focus. You just take all those things away from them or make sure they never have them. They will never be a threat to you because they will never have individual personal power. They will never be able to compete with you if they don't have those things. They will never be a threat. And one of the easiest ways to do that, convince them that all success is luck and random chance and that the universe just said no to them. Because then they won't try to fight fate. And I know that's really deep and that's dark and that's really cynical as hell, but I genuinely believe that. Like, I genuinely believe that. And you know why? I watched it happen over and over and over again in the communities that I lived in. I watched it happen over and over again to friends and family. I watched it over and over again because I went to a community college. I watched it over and over again. That's why I know. That's why I know. I see the same thing happening even now. 20 years later, 10 years later, still seeing the same thing. Nothing new. Except there's more opportunity. Now, on the positive note, because I can't leave you on something that depressing. On the positive note, if you are blessed to live in this era, there's more opportunity than there's ever been. There's more opportunity than there's ever been. You can be prepared. You can arm yourself with knowledge. You can arm yourself with skills. And as for your confidence account, you can build that up yourself by exposing yourself to new things. You can expose yourself to new things. You can take small wins. You can work on yourself. You can work on yourself and you can build your confidence. You can find support groups. You can find communities to be a part of that will build you up instead of tear you down. And then your life will get better because your confidence will improve and you'll put yourself out there more and you'll see results from it. And if you work on yourself and you work on projects little by little every day, you'll see progress, you'll see growth, you'll see results. And you'll know how to replicate those results. You'll know how to improve on those results. Other people in your community will be able to contribute and tell you what can make things better, do things better. And you can protect each other. You can lift each other up. You can support each other. And then things get better. Things get better. You know, I had the support of my mom. I had the support of a handful of very good friends who kept me around and kept me here on this earth. It's a handful of people. It's a handful of people. That's all I had. And then I found a community online that supported me. And little by little, I gained their support. I gained their respect. People had my back. And then, you know, in proportion to be able to create value for people, the more value I created for people, the more value I received in return. It became a positive feedback loop. It became reciprocal. And then I had a greater capacity to help more people. So I was able to do more and then I was able to gain more. And it's been going, it's been going, it's been going. And I haven't reached my capacity yet because people have kept pouring into me and building me up. And then I keep pouring into other people and it just circulates. We're exchanging value. And the thing is, the more my skills increase, the more my capacity increases, the more my network and audience increases, the more value that I can create. And it keeps going. And so when you really think about it, the ultimate goal and the way you become a person of value that then turns you into a person of success, what if you just increased your capacity to give? What if you increased your capacity to give by increasing your knowledge, your abilities, your skills, your physical strength, energy, and stamina? What if you just increased your stats like a video game? You just built up your stats. That's probably the best way to be successful, is to just think of it like a video game that you're building up your stats. You just work on yourself, you improve your capacity, and you also explore the world, new places, new things, unlock new opportunities. And I think that that's a good place to end it. So that's going to be it for tonight's show. I really appreciate all of you. And we'll just do 5 minutes of Q&A if you're in the live audience. If you're watching the replay, you definitely want to be part of the live experience. So hit subscribe, turn on notifications on the YouTube channel. You also definitely, please give it a 5-star rating and review over an Apple Podcast. And excuse me. And we will catch you on the next time with another exciting episode. I promise the next one probably won't be 2 hours. All right, you guys, stay awesome. Take care.
This episode has ended, but your creative journey continues. Visit createsomethingawesometoday.com and access all links and resources mentioned in today's show, all designed to help you create something awesome today.
All right. And so now my editor can cut that for the audio podcast. All right. So that was a good show tonight, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me. I ended up doing a late night show because I just did not want the day to end without me putting out another episode. I've been enjoying doing these back-to-back episodes. I've been enjoying seeing your responses and the engagement. And it's meant a lot to me to have you guys support the podcast. The audio episodes will be out soon over on the podcast services and whatnot. And so just thank you for all the engagement. Thank you for everyone who smashes the like button, everyone who promotes and shares, everybody who just contributes. It means a lot. And I am enjoying doing this. I think I'm going to do this every day till the end of December. And then we'll see what happens in the new year. In the new year, it might be Monday through Friday instead of daily after I get through December. But I'm just going to I think I'm just going to grind out December. And it's been great. You guys are awesome. I hope some of you are binge watching the previous episodes from this week. And I know we picked up some new subscribers. Thankful to all of you. And yeah, no, it's just been really great. I appreciate all the comments, the live chat, the replay comments, the shares, all of it. And so, yeah. Get Lost Vlog says, keep it up, fam. Got a wholesome thing here. Thank you. I appreciate it. Hermit says, do you have content plans for 2022? Actually, I did a podcast episode about my content plans to make 1,000 pieces of content out of 100 pieces of content. But in 2022, believe it or not, I think it'll be that there ends up being like 100 episodes of the podcast, 100 regular YouTube videos, 100 short form vertical videos, and 100 blog posts. And I'll be able to churn those foundational pieces of content into 1,000 pieces of content by cutting up clips and shorts and snippets and graphics and things like that. Let's Talk Beat says, replays on our walks to the lake. Oh, I appreciate that. Indiana says, I'm doing my best to catch each live stream while editing or planning my own content. Great. I really appreciate that. And also really appreciate you, Melly Cinco, showing up for almost everything. Clover Tack, what's up? Yep. Now we got a good community here. And we've got some good comments. I think for some live streams that I'll eventually end up kind of doing, like something else I'm going to do on my main YouTube channel next year, honestly, is on my main YouTube channel. I've been meaning to do this for a while. On my main YouTube channel for channel members, and I'll probably also just duplicate this over to Patreon because I don't keep up with it enough. I think that what I will do is I'm going to create like multiple videos that are exclusive members only videos of my book summaries. So like there's a bunch of books that I love, and especially some of the ones that like inform me the most. So I think I'm going to make like a couple episodes, maybe 6 at a time or 10 or something. They're exclusive content for like channel members and stuff like that. And like my book summaries will be part of like exclusive content. So it'll basically be like my book summaries. And so that could be really dope. And people might really appreciate that. And then I can kind of like make that a regular thing every year and kind of build up a catalog of that. And eventually I'll probably have some authors here interviewing on the podcast. So, yep. Amanda says, always learn something when you put something out, no matter what, where I see it. I've been more or less off socials for a long time, so I haven't had really chance yet to say congratulations on the house. Yes, thank you for that. And some of you might not know this because my background looks so similar, but yeah, I'm literally in a new house. It's great. It's still so weird to be a homeowner. Yep. Little Craft Nook says, so glad I caught you tonight. Thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate it. I'm That Cat says, does Apple give you access to the people who download your podcast, or you just still have to capture emails on your website? Actually, you still have to capture emails on your website, believe it or not. Will there be live readings? I don't think I can do live readings of books because I think that violates copyright of some kind. I'd have to find out. Y'all got personal property taxes over there. That is what sucks about being a homeowner here. Yeah, we do in Georgia. We have we have property taxes here in Georgia. So that's the thing, but they're not too bad. And I think it's included in my monthly mortgage anyway, so it's like I'm not that worried about it. And I put away money for that kind of thing and for taxes anyway. I'm actually also, I always keep right now, I have an emergency mortgage fund where I literally just keep like right now it's like 2 months because like I've spent a lot of money in certain things fixing up the house like already. I made the mistake of literally when I moved into the house, I decided to literally do everything all at once. That was a mistake. So I ran up a bunch of like, I had a perfect credit score when I bought this house. When I bought this house, I had a perfect credit score. And then you know what happened? I bought this house and now I don't have a perfect credit score. Cause what I do, I went out and then, and even though I make good money, cash flow wise, the thing, it makes sense. And there's also, I do have some zero interest. Most of my credit cards have zero interest, 12 months, believe it or not. So a lot of them have 6 or 12 months, zero interest. So it actually makes sense to do this. But what I did was I ran up the credit cards and not in the way that you're thinking. I ran up the credit cards hiring contractors to do massive projects. Like I had all the rewiring done in the house to bring it up to code because there were things that were not up to Georgia's codes. And I had to have wired fire alarms into the electrical installed. So that labor and cost and the equipment is expensive to do that because you have to have the fire and CO2 detectors in every bedroom and in every hallway. That is literally the law. And you have to be up to code on that. So I did that. So you have to pay the contractors for that. I also had to get a second circuit breaker box done for the electrical needs to upgrade all of this to the capacity for my gear and my equipment. So I had to invest in that. This house was never wired for the internet. Like never, ever, ever, ever was this house wired for the internet. So I had to do a massive project with Best Buy. And I had to have Ethernet ports, hard lines installed 2 in every room in the house. And I also had to buy basically have a networking closet set up for that. It was massively expensive because this house is from the 80s and it was never set up for the internet. They had like Dish Network. So it was never wired for the internet. But the difference is this is why I can do stable live streams now, because now I have 700 down and 40 up wired. And you can see that it makes a difference with live streaming. I'll never have to worry about it. So I'll never have to worry about it again. And it does increase the property value to do those type of things. So I had to have complete internet wiring done. And I had to have complete electrical wiring done. I had to have new like I still need the receptacles upgraded, but I can do a lot of that later, or I might even tamper with some of that myself. Like, so to do the tamper-proof receptacles, because that's part of Georgia code, is that the electrical receptacles have to do that. So that's gonna be a little bit later down the road, but I had to do that. There were rooms that didn't have lights and fans, so I had to do that. This room was a dining room before. It only had a fan with no light. I had a light with no fan. I almost regret that it only has a light receptacle because I'm like, oh, it gets a little hella hot in here with the lights. So I might even change that out to a light with a fan later, just because I'm like, yeah, I might need a fan in here. So I had to change out a couple of those fixtures, and then there were some things with me and my brother. We bought we bought paint to paint the rooms. Me and my brother did a lot of stuff outside of the house to bring that up. I had to buy some things I didn't have in terms of power tools. I had to buy a pressure washer. There was just a lot, and it's yeah, it's a lot. You have to like to take care of your home. I bought everything I thought I could need to take care of the home, because now it's like, oh, you got a home, you got to maintain it, you got to take care of it. So you know, we did all of those things. There was some furniture I bought, but I paid that off right away. What else did I do that cost so it was a lot of the electrical stuff. There was some stuff that had to also be done. There was like, so there was two or three rounds of electrical stuff to do, believe it or not. There's 2 to 3 rounds of electrical stuff. That eats up money. That's expensive. There was some of the service work with some other stuff. There was also the outdoor lights and the security. I had to buy completely new floodlights and have those installed, and they're wired floodlights. There was the security cameras. There was the outdoor motion detector lights, because yeah, I have safety. So there was all of that. And so that wasn't cheap. Then there was the moving and the storage unit. Obviously that cost. So yeah, so it was just a lot of stuff. It was just a lot of stuff. And then I had to buy some things to help me repair and treat the wood. So like, yeah, so I had to like, so, you know, even with having money and cash on hand, it's like I put a lot of the cash I had on hand into buying the house. So again, in terms of reserves, I was able to have some emergency fund left, which I have to keep. And then I was able to pay my taxes. And then I also had to have money. I have an extra on top of the regular emergency fund. I have stuff set aside for at least 2 or 3 months of the mortgage. I changed insurance providers, so I had to pay upfront premiums on those things. Then I had the holidays. So I ended up having to spend the credit cards on the contractors. So I spent the credit cards on the contractors, and that set up the house to be safe, code compliances, all possible fire hazards taken care of. And then in terms of operating the business, I have the networking set up because there's physical Ethernet ports in every room now. So every room has physical Ethernet ports, and there are now 3 wireless access points. And there was a replacement modem and router, and the networking closet was set up, and there's redundancy on all of it. So like that was a lot. That was a lot. So it wasn't cheap. So, and none of that was like superfluous. None of that was like mission essential, mission critical for the way that I have to do everything here. So yeah. Amanda says, this is what makes me seriously consider a new build if possible. I can only imagine the stress level. Oh my God, it was a massive stress. Because by the way, you have to remember, I had to do all of this while it's also a pandemic. So that meant everybody was here like basically in hazmat suits. So yeah. Oh, the other thing I had to do, I had to have the entire ventilation system cleaned, and I had to hire a COVID cleaning crew when I moved in. So, hi, I'm your subscriber who is living in Asia. Do you think non-English speaking countries channels can apply all of your YouTube tips and strategies in their YouTube journey? Most of it from 0 to 10,000 subscribers, yes. After that, it's a little bit different, but most of my YouTube strategies and stuff will work for 0 to 10,000 subscribers, regardless of niche and mostly regardless of location. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of it was just making sure I was doing things to make everything in code compliance, make everything safe, have all the electrical work done. The air condition and the HVAC and the water boiler, all that stuff is new, so that's really good. What did I have? I had something replaced. What did I have replaced? I had something replaced. I can't remember right now. So, all that had to be done. It was like, that's why it also took me almost 2 months to upload a new video to YouTube, is I spent the entire time dealing with all of this and moving. And that's why I'm also glad to be back on the grind with the podcast now. So, yeah. Amanda says we're a bit behind on trying to work towards another place, so we're still a good couple of years out from doing any stuff for sure. Pros and cons in both directions. Yeah, in 3 years I'll be like 40. Between now and then, honestly, while I do all the renovations on this place, and I'm just gonna keep this place, even if I just keep it in the family. Especially all the renovations I'm doing, especially with now I'm working on the basement for the studio next year. Next year, and maybe a year and a half. It's gonna be a year and a half of working on getting the basement up and running. Um, but in like 2 years or something, again, I'm like, got to find a girl, got to settle down, get into a relationship. I'm an eligible bachelor, whatever, start a family. I am looking at just getting a personal condo in like 2 to 3 years, but the markets are crazy. We'll see what happens with that. We'll see what happens with me. I'm going to be really frugal and practical about it, but I could see just getting a personal condo, because just having that space and just having a place that's not work, when you do that and just having that's different. So, and the smart thing to do would be to just Airbnb it and turn it into, when I'm not using it, turn it into an Airbnb short-term rental and then monetize it. So, so yeah. So that's just something I think about, because my siblings are my housemates. I don't charge them rent or anything, but my younger siblings are my housemates. So, when it's time to start that family, I got to get a place of my own. And so it'd probably start with a condo, just, for a starter place, that's a good place to start. Then, kids come along, you get something else, you either get a starter home or you get your forever house, whichever you do that. So I'm just, again, the lifestyle design, I practice what I preach. You have a vision for your life. You think about how you want things to be. And that's that. So, yeah. I actually did a video a couple of months ago about like how I spend my money. It's on the main channel. It's on my main YouTube channel. Actually did a video if you're interested in that, but it also relates to where I lived before now. But that might be an interesting breakdown for any of you who care about that. But yeah. So that's where, things are right now. That's where things are right now. It's just a matter of I've stabilized this situation, and then the next phase is paying down all the credit cards for the contractors over the next couple of months, avoid the interest rates, um, keep paying principal toward the mortgage to get ahead of that, to pay it down. I'm not going to pay it down in 30 years. I'm going to pay it down in like 7 or 10, and save 80% of the interest rates, and not pay the interest at all, probably, like, for the most part, because I'll save, by my plan for my principal payments is to basically save 80% of the interest, but pay 0% of the interest, because I'll also raise the home equity so much over time that I negate the other 20%. So that's the other thing with these renovations. By finishing both of the rooms in the basement and adding a bathroom to it over the next 3 years, by doing those in phases, by over the next 3 years, I finish the big room that's my office and studio in the basement. For that, my photo studio and video editing office, that'll be room 1. Room 2 will be the podcast room and the sound recording booth. So that will be a room 2, and then there's the bathroom for the basement. Those things will increase the home value so significantly that by paying off the house within 7 to 10 years and negating 80% of the interest, I'll end up not paying 100%, because I will also raise the value and the equity of the house. So dollars for dollars wise, my plan is to literally just not pay any interest. So I have a plan. See what I mean about having a vision, having a plan, and not just reacting to things? Like, I have a plan. And granted, yes, things could happen and everything like that, but I've scoped out scenarios for that plan. And the thing is, it's not unreasonable to have a 5 to 10 year plan, and to know that you have some kind of means of knowing how to assert yourself over that when you've reached a certain stage in your life, or when you've made 5 or 10 year plans before. So at 37, I'm in a place where I have the maturity and experience to where that's a reasonable thing for me to do. Maybe it's not as reasonable to plan that far ahead or to feel you have that kind of control in your 20s. But in my late 30s, mid to late 30s, yeah, I can probably go that route. So, it's just about, and that's not for everybody. It just depends on where you are in your stage of life and what you value and how you think and like how you prepare. And so I've been preparing for this. I've been thinking this through, and I have pivots, I have contingencies, I have plans in case things go sideways. So, that's why emergency funds and other things. That's why other levels of insurance. So, so that's what I've been working on as far as the finance side of it. And so, yeah. So yeah. So that's what's been going on, and that's what's been going through my head. It's just about making all those preparations. I have a lot of other stuff that I've managed to put on autopilot. So it's looking like I'll do more of that. The other thing is, obviously I've been investing in stocks, preparing, like my retirement is a contingency plan, and it's a net worth situation to where it just gives me leverage financially. I'm not really technically planning to retire. It's that I've planned the stages of life in my career of like, here's where I exit this, here's where I exit that, here's where I move on to this, here's where I do my book career, here's where I do this, here's where I do that, here's what, like I've thought out in phases, and I've made contingencies for what if I want to spend more time with family, or what if I want to what if my health, or what I like, I've been thinking that through. So I've been planning my career for the next few decades of like, okay, at this stage in my life, reevaluate. At this stage in my life, reevaluate. So again, my investment in my retirement accounts is a tax hedge. It's also just a contingency for things I cannot foresee. And I've already fully qualified, it looks like, for my Social Security early in life just because of the amount of taxable income I've had. So I've qualified for my Social Security already. Even though I'm super young, I've already qualified for it. I've met the requirements they said. So it's just there's just certain things in terms of certain boxes to check, certain things to fulfill, certain things to be consistent at, certain things to plan against. So I have, my timeline horizon for owning this house outright, the upgrades, the equity value. I have my pivot plan for starting a family, getting in a relationship, possibly getting a condo, using it as a rental when I'm not using it via Airbnb, and then moving on to either starter home or forever home when kids come along. So God willing. So literally you gotta think it through. You gotta make a plan. You have to have a vision for your life. You have to have a vision for your life. So far up until now has all been intentional training. Yeah. Yep. Willie, you have the last question of the evening. When should we start thinking about making an LLC? Whenever you have the spare cash, consider doing an LLC whenever you have the spare cash, and potentially talk to a tax advisor about what the advantages are for you. The main thing with getting an LLC is to get liability insurance as a business, get a separate business bank account for tax purposes, and maybe get a bookkeeper or CPA. Malevolent elephant. Whoever you marry, make sure you sign a prenup. Oh, absolutely. Prenup. Oh, 100%. But also everybody in our position should be doing that. If you're an influencer or you're an entrepreneur or just in general, everyone should be doing that. How many female friends I have in this business, in this industry, that actually their significant other, like they were in a relationship, they had a fiance, they became internet famous, they became the entrepreneur, they became like, these women were crushing it. Like they weren't when they first got into a relationship, and then they started crushing it, and then they became very well off, and then these dudes like raw dealed them. Like, frankly, it's like a lot of them cheated and then still ended up getting stuff in the divorce because there wasn't a prenup. Like that, like that's kind of scummy. So like, whether you're a guy or a gal, just like get a damn prenup. Like at this point, like get a prenup. Whether you're male or female, just get a damn prenup. I've seen so many of my female friends get screwed over in the divorce because they didn't get a prenup, because they ended up crushing it and they became this wonderful like maven. They became this, boss babe. They became, somebody who's just absolutely killing it. And their dude got insecure or jealous or just was a scumbag. And then they ended up like kind of getting over on them in the divorce after already getting over on them in the relationship. And it's kind of crappy. It's really crappy. It happens more than you might think, and people don't talk about it a lot in this industry. I understand it can be traumatic, it can be embarrassing, it can be a bad look, whatever. But it's like you'd be shocked how often that happens. You'd be shocked how often it happens. It's just like, it's bad, and it's such a shame. Such a shame. So it's like when you do that, when you have that prenup in place, it means that there's not an added incentive to basically go back on your word. Think about it. Think about it. If you don't have a prenup, if you become successful and you don't have a prenup, someone gets benefit by going back on their word or by raw dealing you or not being a good partner. If you become successful, especially if you meet somebody and you're not successful yet, and there's no prenup, and then you become successful, there's an added incentive for them to behave badly because they are going to benefit. You don't want to incentivize someone not keeping their word. So if you have a prenup, it is the best case scenario to make sure that there's not some added incentive for someone to not keep their word, regardless of who it is. So last question, what color lightsaber? Either red or gold. Either red or gold. Lightsaber, it's either red or gold. Yeah. Or purple. Or purple. Red, gold, purple. If I go dual wielding, I could go red and purple like Darth Revan. Revan was dope. So like red and purple. Just go to dual wielding, red and purple. Yep. I could just have a bunch of lightsabers. Just go like Grievous and just have a whole bandolier of lightsabers. Let's pick which ones I want to cut people down with that day. Yeah. Let's go like Grievous. Just have a whole bandolier of lightsabers. Let's go. That's fun. Yep. So anyway, that's it. You guys have a great evening. I'm gonna go get about a good 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep. So I will catch y'all later. New episode tomorrow, probably in the afternoon, probably around lunchtime, and probably later in the afternoon, a new episode of not a new episode of the podcast tomorrow for sure, but probably a new video on the main YouTube channel as well. All right, you guys, stay awesome. Have a good night.